Who would have thought the infamous Ethan would turn out to be the most popular of the three? He received DMs from two different women, catching the eye of both Grace and Victoria. What was his secret charm? After spending the last couple of days together, besides knowing how to cook, he didn't seem to have any other outstanding qualities. Grace Parker sending Ethan a message was somewhat understandable. After all, they'd known each other since they were childhood sweethearts, holding on to old feelings. But Victoria? What was her reason? She was Amelia Harper's aunt. Ethan used to call her Annie right along with Amelia. At first, everyone assumed Victoria was deliberately getting close to Ethan to teach him a lesson on Amelia Harper's behalf. But as things unfolded, it became clear Victoria's closeness to Ethan was anything but ordinary. Who teaches someone a lesson by pressing their entire chest against them? If that counts as a lesson, sign me up. Christopher and Logan exchanged a look, disbelief mirrored in each other's eyes. Their competitive streaks flared up instantly. Christopher wasn't too bothered. After all, Olivia Bennett had replied to him. But Logan hadn't received a single reply. The emptiness made him doubt himself. Am I really that bad? Christopher asked. Did you see the news online? Everyone was sharp. Except for Ethan, they'd all secretly checked online and knew about the Twitter trends. Logan shot back. You mean those rumors about Ethan? You really think they're just rumors? Logan fell silent for a moment. He didn't know Ethan well, but based on the past 2 days, Ethan didn't seem as terrible as the internet made him out to be. Christopher lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. He was kicked out of the Johnson family. Someone even his own parents disowned. How good can his character really be? You can't really say that. Logan frowned, finding Christopher a bit harsh. Christopher didn't care. The indoor cameras were off anyway, so no one would see him like this. He pulled out a lighter, lit a cigarette, and offered the pack to Logan. Want one? Logan shook his head. Christopher tried to console him. Between the three of us, based on current circumstances, Ethan's the worst off. We used to think he was some rich young master, but now he's got no money, no influence. Just knows how to cook and looks decent. Anyway, he definitely can't compare to you. Christopher put the pack away. He'd had even less contact with Ethan and didn't particularly like him, but he considered himself superior. Coming from Oak Ridge Farm, he'd worked hard to get into a good university and started raising investments for game development while still in college. Though his game company wasn't huge, it brought in good money. When he went out for business dinners, people respectfully addressed him as Christopher. He'd achieved what he had through his own efforts, unlike Ethan, who was born into a wealthy family with all sorts of resources thrown at him. 24 years old and still no career of his own. Heard he lost $100 million since taking over his family's company. You could only describe someone like that as useless. If someone invested $100 million in him, maybe he could break into the top 100 companies. He had a sharp mind, talent second to none, ability, looks, he had it all. He'd never lacked female attention growing up. The only thing missing was an opportunity. He wanted to climb higher, get richer, and participating in this show was a rare chance for him. That's why, before filming started, he'd set his sights on Olivia Bennett. The incorporation was in the national top 100, and Olivia Bennett was a naive heiress, the easiest type to coax. The past couple of days went well. Lots of people online were shipping him and Olivia Bennett as a couple. Olivia trusted him and even sent him a DM. The money he spent on marketing hadn't been wasted. Christopher's original plan was, if the Olivia Bennett route didn't work out, he'd go for Victoria. As for Grace Parker, sure, she's an award-winning actress, but put bluntly, just an actress. Rich, but without social standing. Victoria was different. Comparatively, Harper Enterprises was even wealthier and more influential than the Yin family. But Victoria was older, more experienced, harder to fool. Unless absolutely necessary, he wouldn't switch targets. Before coming, Christopher had been incredibly confident, imagining who he'd choose as his girlfriend. With all his advantages, winning over these women should have been a piece of cake. But he never calculated that both Victoria and Grace Parker would choose Ethan. What was so good about that loser Ethan anyway? A wave of hostility rose in Christopher. He exhaled smoke, then stubbed out the half-smoked cigarette with his fingers. Who did you signal tonight? Let me guess, Grace Parker? Logan scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Yeah, I'm a fan of her movies. A fanboy, huh? Logan detected a hint of contempt, but Christopher's expression seemed sincere. Maybe the scorn was just his imagination. He said, but I genuinely like her. Who wouldn't be interested in a woman like Grace Parker? Won a grand slam of awards at a young age, talented actress, beautiful, and no scandals. Among the 3 female contestants, Grace Parker was his first choice. Olivia Bennett had a temper and seemed hard to handle, while Victoria was too cold towards everyone, making her unapproachable. Actually, Victoria wasn't just cold. She was only warm towards Ethan. She'd cut his hair, but kept everyone else at arm's length. One second she'd be all smiles facing Ethan. The next, as soon as he left, her expression would instantly darken. She didn't even bother pretending. People that moody are the hardest to deal with. Compared to them, the slightly reserved Grace Parker seemed the most even-tempered and easiest to get along with. Christopher played the part of the older brother, advising Logan, going after Grace Parker won't be easy. She's a huge star with a massive fan base. Those fans tearing Ethan apart online, a lot of them are hers. Being with her means facing immense pressure. Logan shrugged it off. Ethan's getting trashed because his reputation sucks. True. Christopher nodded. Comparisons make all the difference. Next to Ethan, the fans will definitely find you more acceptable. If you two really got together down the line, there wouldn't be as much opposition. That depends on whether she likes me. If she doesn't, fan support is useless. Logan didn't share Christopher's optimism. Grace Parker currently showed zero interest in him, remaining quite aloof. Chasing women is a skill. Sometimes, the harder you pursue, the more repulsed she becomes. Christopher thought for a moment. Maybe girls these days just like guys who can cook. Why don't you learn a thing or two from Ethan? Maybe I'll try that tomorrow. It's getting late. I'm heading to bed. They said goodnight and turned off the lights. In the darkness, neither slept. Logan tossed and turned, lost in dejection, while Christopher plotted how to close the distance with Olivia Bennett. During the next day's filming, everyone except Victoria and Ethan looked somewhat worse for wear. Dark circles, bloodshot eyes, puffiness. All signs of a sleepless night. Olivia Bennett especially felt uneasy, imagining Amelia Harper watching her from off-camera. When she saw Ethan that morning, she wanted nothing more than to keep her distance, desperate to avoid being in the same shot with him. I see you as the enemy, and you're trying to hit on me? Everyone hates him so much. Why would he still send her the match message? Is there something wrong with his head? Olivia Bennett wondered. Was Ethan deliberately sending the message to her just to drive a wedge between her and Amelia? If that was true, then Ethan was truly despicable. He deserved all the hate he was getting online. No sympathy needed. Ethan glanced past their expressions, his gaze finally settling on Olivia Bennett. Meeting her wary eyes, Ethan felt deeply satisfied. This was exactly the effect he wanted, for her to be guarded against him, distant from him, repulsed by him, to never, ever choose him. From now on, he would be the last resort, the plan B, merely the backdrop in whatever complicated romance unfolded. Logan had woken up early to make breakfast today, a simple vegetable and lean pork congee, along with some fried eggs. Logan wasn't skilled at much, but he fried eggs beautifully, perfectly golden. He'd somehow procured a packet of ketchup and used it to draw a smiley face on Grace Parker's portion, arranging it artfully on her plate. It was all in the details. Small gestures, perhaps, but they made the distinction clear. What girl doesn't appreciate being treated specially? It signifies that you hold a unique place in his heart. After sending out the interest messages, everyone had changed somewhat. Some were subtly sizing each other up, while others seemed lost in confusion. Compared to the initial testing the waters phase, their pursuits would now become bolder. They were officially entering the battleground stage. In his past life, he hadn't known how many couples actually got together from this reality show. But in this life, his unexpected arrival had altered the cast, throwing the entire dynamic into chaos. Grace Parker stared at the fried egg before her, her first instinct to glance at Ethan, seeking his reaction. Disappointingly, Ethan seemed completely unfazed by it, merely keeping his head down and focusing on his congee, as if nothing could disturb him. If she only suspected before, now she was certain. The person who sent her the message last night wasn't Ethan. Ethan's message had ultimately gone to Olivia Bennett. Grace sipped her congee, her eyes lifting to study Olivia. Olivia Bennett seemed somewhat absent-minded this morning. Since yesterday afternoon, she hadn't been her usual self, quieter, clearly preoccupied with something. Grace wasn't interested in what Olivia was thinking. She only cared why Ethan had sent the message to Olivia Bennett. Olivia either gave him the cold shoulder or mocked him, and yesterday, she'd outright ignored him. Did Ethan actually like that kind of treatment, or had he simply sent the message randomly, settling for second best? Too much time had passed since she and Ethan were last close. 5 years was long enough to change a person's habits and preferences completely. Grace lowered her gaze, her grip tightening fiercely on her chopsticks. She didn't dare look up, afraid of revealing the redness welling up in her eyes from the sense of grievance. She envied Olivia Bennett, who seemed to gain what Grace desperately craved without lifting a finger. And she also envied Victoria Harper's audacious fearlessness. Victoria Harper eyed the fried egg on Grace Parker's plate and smiled. Grace, your egg looks so special. There's even a heart underneath. It's obvious he made it just for you. Logan scratched the back of his head, slightly embarrassed. Oh, I just whipped it up. It's nothing special. It's the thought that counts. Those who get it, Victoria Harper added, fanning the flames. Since Logan was clearly pursuing Grace Parker, she didn't mind giving him a little push. Grace, however, saw right through that sly fox Victoria's intentions. She used her chopsticks to pointedly scrape the ketchup drawing off the egg and stated coldly, I don't like ketchup. Logan's expression faltered, a flicker of embarrassment in his eyes. Oh, okay, I won't add it next time. Even this early in the morning, the air already crackled with tension. The director announced the dating task. They had been in the Oak Ridge community for 4 days now. During that time, they had harvested rice, done housework, bought groceries, cooked meals, fed pigs, cut grass. It was supposed to be a romance reality show, yet their daily routine had absolutely nothing to do with romance. It felt more like they were doing farm labor under false pretenses. Apart from Ethan, nobody seemed to enjoy this kind of life. Today, the female guests will each secretly prepare a gift, the director announced. Once ready, hand it over to the nearby staff member. The male guests will be responsible for completing tasks to choose the date locations. Finally, the dating segment had arrived. Following the production crew's usual formula, the male guests would undoubtedly draw gifts, and whoever's gift they drew would be their date partner. This was the first date, and every date on a show like this was crucial. The first date could practically determine the entire romantic trajectory. If sparks flew on the first date, the couple was practically locked in. Everyone was buzzing with anticipation, eager to see who would be paired up for this initial date. Viewers were already flooding the Twitch chat with live comments. Finally, the dating segment. So hyped for this. The atmosphere felt kind of weird this morning, especially Olivia Bennett. She's acting super shady. Logan finally manned up today, making breakfast for Grace Parker and even doing that special ketchup plating. In GL, his fried eggs look pretty good. How'd he even make a heart shape without a mold? Grace Parker is just so dense when it comes to romance. Come on, award-winning actress, open your eyes and look at Logan. Logan is so much better than Ethan. No clue who sent messages to whom last night. There was no Twitch stream for the reveal. Guess we have to wait for next week's main episode. Pretty sure nobody chose Ethan. Who would like a scumbag like him? I bet Ethan got 0 votes. Hope he has enough self-awareness to just quit gracefully instead of embarrassing himself further on the show. I just want to see the beautiful ladies. Seeing Ethan's face first thing in the morning is seriously annoying. Can they please pixelate him? Hope the Christopher X. Bennett ship gets to go on a date. The tasks assigned to Ethan and the others were simple, helping a neighbor's sun-dry harvested rice and sorting beans. Ethan handled these chores effortlessly. Even while deliberately holding back, he still managed to finish first. The director let him choose the date location first. The options were an aquatic park, an escape room, and an arcade. It made no difference to Ethan. He reached out for the arcade option, but just then, Christopher cleared his throat beside him. Ethan, Christopher asked, could you possibly let me have the arcade? Can you even do that? Ethan thought. Then what was the point of the task? He saw the pleading look in Christopher's eyes, then turned to Logan. What about you? Which location do you prefer? The escape room, I guess, Logan replied. Ethan picked up the card for the aquatic park, the middle option. All right, I'll go here then. Logan looked at Ethan in surprise. Huh, he's actually being pretty decent, Logan thought, surprised by how readily Ethan gave up the potentially more popular date spots. Didn't he realize how crucial the first date was? Or perhaps, having already captured the interest of 2 female guests, he felt utterly fearless and could afford to just go with the flow? Damn, I'm jealous. Well, thanks, Logan said, taking the escape room card. After returning, the female guests' gifts were ready. The male guests received instructions to head to the Oak Ridge retreat to make their selections. The men and women sat on opposite sides, the gifts displayed on the coffee table between them. Do we start choosing now? Ethan asked. Should be, Christopher replied, his eyes fixed on the 3 items on the table, a cartoon drawing, a woven flower crown, and a red string bracelet. It was completely impossible to guess who had prepared which gift. The rules were clear. When the men chose their gifts, the women couldn't offer any hints. Ethan scanned the gifts laid out before him, already piecing together who had prepared each one. Olivia Bennett had been drawing since she was little and had even shared her work on Twitter. A cartoon drawing like this was clearly her handiwork. The flower crown had to be Grace Parker's. Seeing the circlet woven from wildflowers sent Ethan down memory lane. Grace had loved acting as a child, especially pretending to be fairies from TV shows. Not content to act alone, she'd always rope Ethan into being her supporting character. To keep her happy, Ethan had learned how to weave flower crowns, placing ones full of wildflowers on her head. Ethan had taught Grace this specific weaving technique. As he looked at the crown, Grace watched him cautiously from his side. Did Ethan still remember? If he guessed the crown was hers, would he choose her? Ethan glanced at the bracelet at the far end. Unsurprisingly, it was Victoria Harper's work, a simple hand-braided bracelet made from colorful cords. The three men stared at the gifts before them, lost in thought, none making a move. Olivia Bennet couldn't help but let her gaze drift towards Ethan. Worried about being caught staring, she'd occasionally avert her eyes elsewhere or exchange a few words with Grace Parker beside her. As for Grace Parker, while she appeared to be chatting with Olivia, her attention was actually fixed on Ethan's every move. Only Victoria Harper seemed completely relaxed. She lounged in her wicker chair, a cattail fan in hand, a plate of grapes beside her. She popped grapes in her mouth, fanned herself, and occasionally glanced at the gifts on the table, seemingly unconcerned about who might choose hers. After a long pause with no action from the men across from them, she asked, "Is it that hard to choose?" Ethan immediately reached for the painting. "I choose this one." Olivia Bennet's eyes widened slightly. Across from them, Christopher noticed Olivia Bennet's reaction and instantly reached out. "I want this painting too." He'd assumed Ethan would yield like before, but Ethan's hand remained firmly on the painting. Their eyes met, and the atmosphere crackled with tension. Victoria Harper raised an eyebrow, her expression intrigued. Are they fighting over it already? Starting off this intense. Who painted that? It's Olivia Bennet's, right? I saw her post drawings on Twitter before. She loves to draw. Go Chris Livia. Ethan, get lost. Why's Ethan trying to take it? Does he even have the right? She and Christopher have mutual feelings. You can't really say that. Ethan won the challenge, so he gets first pick. He already gave up the date location choice once. Neither man was willing to let go. Logan suggested, "How about rock, paper, scissors?" Ethan agreed. He'd chosen the painting specifically to avoid Grace Parker and Victoria Harper. Losing wouldn't bother him. One round decides it. They both threw their hands out simultaneously, scissors against rock. Ethan's rock won. The painting was his. Christopher's face fell. Next, choosing between the bracelet and the flower crown, Christopher selected the bracelet. Compared to the crown, the bracelet seemed more sophisticated, more like something Victoria Harper would make. That left Logan with the flower crown. The director announced the results. The cartoon painting was indeed Olivia Bennet's. The flower crown was woven by Grace Parker, and the bracelet was made by Victoria Harper. Hearing the results, although he'd braced himself, Christopher still felt annoyed. Fortunately, he was adept at hiding his expressions. He and Olivia Bennet clearly had a mutual thing going. What was this? Ethan sticking his nose in. Olivia Bennet kept her head down, silent. Everyone wondered if she was upset. Olivia Bennet's feelings were hard to describe. A mix of happiness, nervousness, and a sliver of anticipation. Was she being a simp? Ethan was Amelia Harper's ex-fiancée. What would it mean to go on a date with him now? If Amelia Harper saw, she might call the production staff directly. Olivia Bennet stared at the camera, chewing her lip. Should she throw a fit and demand the director swap her date partner? Get Ethan switched for Christopher? But would that be too much trouble for the production crew? Would the audience hate her? Olivia Bennet felt overwhelmed, growing increasingly anxious. She truly hadn't expected Ethan to pick her painting. Did he choose randomly? Or did he guess it was hers? Remembering the DMs Ethan had sent her just last night made her heart race uncontrollably. Olivia Bennet looked up towards Ethan, and their eyes suddenly met. Her heartbeat stuttered. What should she do? Was she really going on a date with Ethan tomorrow? Where would they even go? What should she wear? What time should she get up? How should she do her makeup? What would they eat? If Ethan talked to her, should she respond? Just as Olivia Bennet was spiraling in indecision, Victoria Harper spoke up. "Director, I want to use my swap card." Olivia Bennet froze mid-thought. She turned her head to see Victoria Harper pulling out a card and handing it to the director. It was the reward she'd won from the rice harvesting challenge, usable for swapping date partners. Victoria Harper was using it today. Who would she swap with? Olivia Bennet's throat tightened with a strange sense of dismay. She had a gut feeling Victoria would choose Ethan. I almost forgot about the swap card. Is Victoria Harper really using it already? Who will she swap for? Her date is Christopher. Isn't that good? Why swap? Among the three guys, Christopher's probably the best catch, right? Don't tell me Victoria Harper's going to swap for Ethan? No. The director accepted the card with a smile. Who do you want to swap for? Victoria Harper raised her hand and slowly pointed towards Ethan. Swap for Ethan. Victoria Harper's gaze darkened, her eyes fixed on Ethan like a predator sizing up its prey. No matter who Ethan chose today, he would end up dating her. Grace Parker pressed her lips together, her eyes darting between them. No wonder she was so calm today, Grace thought. She planned to use the swap card all along. When the camera turned to Ethan, the surprise was still playing on his face. He clearly hadn't expected Victoria Harper to use such a valuable swap card today. As for Olivia Bennet, whose mind had been racing just moments before, it felt like a bucket of cold water had been dumped over her. Victoria Harper wanted to swap dates with her. That meant she would now be dating Christopher, and Ethan belonged to Victoria. It was the best choice, the best outcome. So why did her chest feel so empty, so tight? She stared at Ethan, unable to hide her feelings, her fingers twitching as if wanting to reach for him, compelled to do something. She opened her mouth, but the image of Amelia Harper flashed in her mind, and the words died in her throat. Because Victoria Harper had used the swap card, Ethan had no choice but to put down the painting he held and pick up the bracelet. Turning away from the camera, he sighed silently. Sometimes, the more you try to avoid something, the more inevitable it becomes. Of the three women, Grace Parker felt she had the least right to object. Ethan had recognized her flower crown. He clearly hadn't wanted to choose her. A bitter smile touched her lips. I never thought I'd become someone he actively avoids. Ethan, do you really hate me this much? She wondered, standing there, watching me get paired with another man, not even sparing me a glance, treating me with such indifference. A dull ache spread through her chest, like a knife twisting inside her, making her flinch with every breath. Swallowing the pain, Grace Parker asked Olivia Bennet, "Are you happy with how this turned out?" Olivia Bennet scoffed. "Of course I am. I didn't want to date Ethan anyway. Even if Victoria hadn't used the swap card, I would have switched with her. Only she would treat him like some prize." Despite her words, her hands clenched tightly. She forced herself to look away from Ethan. Among the group, Christopher and Logan were undoubtedly the happiest. Logan had been aiming for Grace Parker from the start, and luckily, the flower crown he chose matched hers. As for Christopher, he couldn't be more pleased. He thought his chance to date Olivia Bennet was lost, but then a stroke of luck, Victoria Harper's swap card, paired them together after all. The reversal had come so quickly. Christopher picked up the painting and walked over to Olivia Bennet, praising it immediately. "This painting is really good. Can I keep it? The director told us to prepare them for you anyway." Why is Olivia acting so distant? Christopher paused, momentarily confused, then added, "I didn't expect we'd end up together. I'm looking forward to tomorrow." Olivia Bennet really couldn't muster any enthusiasm. As Christopher approached, her only instinct was to step back. Why do we even have to date? Olivia pushed the thought away. Remembering the Twitch chat and the audience watching, she forced herself to appear cheerful and engage with Christopher, careful not to let anyone notice her reluctance. Chris Liv's CP really are destined. Looking forward to their date tomorrow. I predict they'll be the first couple to make it official. Pretty happy with the other two pairs, but Victoria and Ethan. It's complicated. Why did Victoria use the swap card? Does she like Ethan? I don't believe Victoria likes Ethan. She must have chosen him because of Olivia. She's sacrificing herself for others. She's truly... I'm crying. Olivia is Amelia Harper's friend. It would be awkward if she dated Ethan. Besides, based on the past few days, Olivia clearly likes Christopher. Hope the gorgeous Victoria finds a good man after leaving this cursed show. She needs to wash away the bad luck with pomelo peels when it's over. As the first dates were announced, the production crew officially revealed the panel of observers. Although the lineup had already been guessed and trended online, the official announcement hadn't been made. Now that the list was public, both old and new topics shot to the top of the trending charts. Leading the buzz was the Amelia Harper, Ethan, and William love triangle. Netizens commented that the show's setup was insane. Even if the actual show turned out to be trash, they'd have to watch it. The hype around Amelia Harper being an observer could be summed up simply: watching her ex potentially date her own aunt and watching her ex potentially date her best friend. No matter how you looked at it, it was a SHDTY situation for her. She was eating SHD, but the audience loved this kind of twisted reality dating show. In short, after the production crew announced the lineup, there were plenty of critics, but even more people were tuning in for the drama. Netizens were just here for the entertainment. The show had secured its casual viewership. Inside the observation lounge, watching the date pairings unfold, Sophia Reynolds was the first to applaud. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. To ensure the show could continue filming smoothly, Sophia Reynolds had been strictly forbidden from asking Amelia Harper personal questions. Since Amelia was off limits, she just asked William. They were practically the same difference anyway. Sophia's eyes lifted. "William, among these three pairs, do you have a favorite couple?" William replied. I'm quite optimistic about Olivia Bennet and Christopher. What about Ethan and Victoria Harper? What do you think their chances are? Would Ethan go for a girl like Victoria? And what's your take on Victoria using the swap card? Amelia Harper cut in coldly. Are you a reporter? Why so many questions? Sophia grinned. Then just pretend I am. I'm interviewing William. William knew he couldn't avoid it. He thought for a moment before answering. You've asked too many questions. I don't even know which one to answer first. Sophia. Then let's take them one by one. William. I can't predict their chances of success. We'll have to see how things develop. I don't know Ethan well enough to say what kind of girl he likes. As for Victoria using the swap card, my opinion is the same as most netizens. Sophia clicked her tongue twice. You're just playing it safe. I actually think Victoria and Ethan have potential. Maybe after this date, their relationship will take a huge step forward. Then, I'm afraid someone might have to start calling him uncle. Amelia Harper had left early yesterday. Thankfully, William had stayed with her, comforting her, preventing her from losing control and doing something irreversible. She had spent the entire night composing herself and could now maintain a neutral expression. Facing Sophia, despite her dislike, she could still manage a smile. Watching Victoria Harper on the screen, Amelia was now certain. Her aunt had fallen for Ethan. How ridiculous. Falling for her niece's ex-fiancé. There were so many men in the world. Why did Victoria have to compete with her for him? If Victoria dared to date Ethan in front of millions of viewers, what wouldn't she do in the future? If those two ended up together, would she really have to call Ethan uncle? It wouldn't just be her own humiliation. It would also tarnish the reputation of Harper Enterprises. Amelia Harper felt like her eyes were about to pop from fury. To control her expression, the corners of her lips twitched upwards slightly. On the surface, she still seemed to be smiling, but one look in her chilling eyes revealed just how furious she truly was. Last night, William had asked her why she cared so much about Ethan. She had answered fiercely, I don't care about Ethan. I care about Victoria Harper. She's my aunt. What business does she have sending flirty DMs to Ethan? An ex should be like they're dead, not constantly hanging around trying to get attention. If Victoria and Ethan ever got together, what would I call him? I don't want to see him succeed. Someone like him belongs in the shadows, never seeing the light of day. William had believed her words, and Amelia had almost convinced herself too. But that night, she'd had a dream. She dreamt she had knocked Ethan unconscious, tied him up, and locked him in a dark apartment building, forbidding him from seeing Victoria, Grace, or any of them. Waking from the dream left Amelia feeling dazed for a long time. Even with his ruined reputation, people still liked Ethan. If the truth ever came out, if his good qualities surfaced one by one, then all the current mockery directed at him would bounce back onto her. What would the viewers and netizens say about her? That she was a poor judge of character? That she mistook a pearl for a fisheye? Amelia couldn't bear to imagine how irrational she would become if Ethan actually ended up with Victoria or one of the others. It wasn't just Victoria and Grace. Even Olivia Bennet, who had always seemed to dislike Ethan, had changed her tune towards him. Perhaps Olivia hadn't realized it herself. But as an observer, if one looked closely, you could almost feel her anticipation radiating off the screen when faced with the prospect of dating Ethan. Amelia tapped her fingers on the table, stating coldly, So what if they get together? It's all fake for the cameras, for ratings. Even if they become a real couple on the show, they'll break up once it's over. People talk about freedom of love, but in wealthy families, matching social status still matters. Not just anyone can marry into the Harper family. This was the first time Amelia Harper had mentioned the Harper family. Sophia Reynolds' interest was piqued, and she pressed on. How's your relationship with Victoria Harper? It's average, but she's your aunt. Don't you usually keep in touch? Surprisingly, Amelia Harper didn't shy away from the topic. She's my father's half-sister. My maternal grandmother died young. This wasn't exactly a secret in Hollywood, but for the few on the production crew, it was news. No wonder Victoria Harper wasn't much older than Amelia Harper. So, what's Victoria Harper like as a person? Do you know her well? What type of men is she into? Is Ethan her type? Sophia Reynolds' questions grew increasingly personal, completely forgetting the director's warnings. Speaking of Victoria Harper, a flash of contempt crossed Amelia Harper's eyes. She just likes to have fun, doesn't do anything productive all day. My grandfather calls her an empty vase, just a pretty face. He was afraid she'd cause trouble, so he never let her into Harper Enterprises. He just left her some minor shares in a subsidiary company. Enough so she'll never have to worry about food or clothing. What about her love life? Do you know anything? Don't know, don't care. But every Thanksgiving, I hear relatives gossiping about how she doesn't have a proper job, hangs out at bars all the time, and hires escorts. Her reputation isn't great. Even though she's reached marriageable age, no one in Hollywood wants to be set up with her. Originally, my uncle wanted to arrange a marriage for her, but in families like ours, beauty alone isn't enough. You need education and capability. Amelia Harper claimed not to know or care, yet she painted Victoria Harper as completely worthless, clearly not respecting her as an elder. The malice in her heart was practically oozing out. In short, according to Amelia Harper's explanation, Victoria Harper was nothing but a useless pretty face. Not only that, she was promiscuous and morally degenerate. What kind of good woman frequently hangs out at bars and hires escorts? People had thought Victoria Harper merely looked seductive, but it turned out her actions were just as unrestrained. Her blank slate had turned into a tabloid. Was this really the truth? No one delved deeper. After listening intently, Sophia Reynolds propped her chin on her hand and concluded, hearing all this, Victoria Harper and Ethan actually sound quite compatible. Amelia Harper. Sophia Reynolds explained. One's a player king, the other's a player queen. They both love clubbing and hitting bars. Maybe they even met in one. One is wild and untamed. The other is cynical and flippant. A perfect match. I have high hopes for them. I want to see their adrenaline bonding next. Amelia Harper almost dropped her facade. Suppressing her anger, she sneered. Victoria Harper wouldn't like Ethan. I get it. Amelia Harper, you don't get shit. Sophia Reynolds nodded and continued. When two master players meet, it's all about the performance. I'm really looking forward to their date tomorrow. Let's see if it's about feelings or just physical. Aren't you guys excited too? Others, we actually are kind of looking forward to it. Amelia Harper gripped her cup tighter and fell silent. Amelia Harper went quiet, much to Sophia Reynolds' slight disappointment. This time, her attitude towards Amelia Harper had been entirely sincere, without any hint of sarcasm or backhanded compliments. Ever since she and Ethan broke up, more and more things seemed to slip out of her control. She couldn't understand why. Even after Ethan's reputation had been dragged through the mud like this, people still liked and admired him. Among the production crew, he was like a buried antique. The longer he stayed hidden, the more valuable he seemed to become. The only somewhat tolerable thing was that, compared to the other women's proactive approaches, Ethan treated everyone the same. He was quite cold toward Victoria Harper too. While the others discussed tomorrow's date, Amelia Harper alone was lost in thought. She dipped her fingertip in her cup and began drawing on the table with a liquid. Does Ethan know she's also on this reality show? Does he know she's watching his every move? Does he know she's watching him and Victoria Harper on the Twitch livestream? A strange, twisted feeling arose in Amelia Harper. Maybe Ethan had only sent that DM to her best friend last night to provoke her. Maybe he was deliberately getting close to her and just to spite her too. Amelia Harper had seen Ethan when he was in love. When he truly liked someone, he would never act this cold. Like how he used to be with her. What are you drawing? William suddenly leaned over from beside her. Amelia Harper snapped back to reality. While lost in thought, she had actually written Ethan on the table with her drink. Seeing it, she quickly wiped it away. Nothing, I was just spacing out. What time is it? When are we finishing up? Soon. Want to come over to my place tonight? I can cook for you. Amelia Harper gently refused. I didn't sleep well last night, so I want to get to bed early today. Plus, I have to be up early tomorrow for the show's recording and to watch the Twitch livestream. This wasn't the first time William had invited Amelia Harper over. She used to go often, but ever since she and Ethan broke up, she hadn't been back once. Now, she rejected his invitations every time. His place was actually closer. He could drive her to and from the recordings, and he could take good care of her, attentive and considerate like a boyfriend would be. William didn't dare push further, afraid their relationship would hit a dead end. Then I'll bring you breakfast tomorrow morning. Amelia Harper nodded in agreement. To prepare for tomorrow's date, the cast members turned off their lights early to rest, but few actually managed to fall asleep. Grace Parker was restless and anxious. The thought of Ethan going on a date with Victoria Harper tomorrow felt like needles pricking her heart. The feeling was no less intense than when she first heard he was getting engaged. She had joined the show hoping to get closer to Ethan, but now their relationship was stuck at an awkward distance. She couldn't do anything but watch him from afar. Maybe she shouldn't have come on this reality show, but if she hadn't, she wouldn't even have a sliver of chance. At least now, she could still fantasize. Olivia Bennett was the last to turn off her light. She was picking out her outfit for tomorrow. She always liked to look her best when going out. But right now, she had absolutely no mental energy for makeup or styling. Even though her date was the person she had anticipated, and logically she should be excited and looking forward to it, all she could think about was Ethan. She even found herself thinking that going out with Ethan would probably be much more interesting. After all, when Ethan was with Amelia Harper, he often planned dates and always managed to make her happy. Even someone as picky as Amelia Harper had called him considerate and romantic. Whatever. Tomorrow she'd just throw something on and go out. Treat it like a work team-building event. That's just how people are. You think someone doesn't meet your standards, but when they start to distance themselves, you feel an unbearable itch you can't scratch. Victoria Harper toyed with her bracelet, imagining fastening it around Ethan's wrist. Ethan's hands were exceptionally beautiful, with well-defined knuckles. Especially when he was cooking, washing rice, seeing those hands submerged in the milky water, rubbing gently, rice grains flowing between his fingers with the water. It made one want to preserve them like a specimen. Victoria Harper wasn't stupid. She could sense Ethan didn't want to date her, that he was trying to avoid her at all costs. But so what? Her possessiveness grew clearer, thinking of Grace Parker looking at Ethan with hurt and disappointment in her eyes, and Olivia Bennett, who liked him without even realizing it. Victoria Harper fumbled with the bracelet, winding it tightly around her own wrist until it hurt, then fastened it. Her usually calm eyes revealed a hint of paranoia and gloom. Ethan couldn't sleep either. The thing he'd worried about had happened. Just thinking about the date with Victoria Harper tomorrow made him nervous. There were too many uncertain factors. He couldn't dwell on it, or he'd never get to sleep tonight. Fortunately, exhaustion eventually took over, and soon after closing his eyes, he drifted off. The first date was set in the city, a 2-hour drive from Greenfield Township. To capture more footage, the director demanded an early start from everyone. Consequently, Victoria Harper was up before 6, heading straight to the kitchen to make 2 sandwiches. She applied light makeup, changed into practical clothes, put on sunscreen, sprayed mosquito repellent, and checked the time. 30 minutes had already passed, and Ethan wasn't up yet. Victoria walked to his room door, about to knock, when she heard movement inside. Ethan, already dressed, opened the door. He paused, and they looked at each other for 2 seconds. Victoria openly surveyed his entire outfit, from head to toe. "You're wearing that on a date with me? What else?" Ethan didn't see the problem. Clothes should be comfortable, and it was just a t-shirt and sweatpants. Victoria pushed past him into the room. "Where are your clothes?" Ethan pointed to the wardrobe. Victoria opened it. A few items hung inside. She picked through them, finally selecting a cotton shirt and swapping out his pants. "Wear this. It's our first date. I take it seriously." She stared intently at him. Ethan reluctantly took the clothes. "Could you step out for a moment? I'll change right away." Less than 10 minutes later, Ethan emerged, changed. The outfit Victoria had chosen was arguably the best among the clothes he'd brought. It made him look much sharper. When he opened the door again, Victoria gave a satisfied smile. She scanned his look, tapping her chin thoughtfully. "It feels like something's still missing. Wait here." Victoria went back to her bedroom and returned with a hat, placing it on Ethan's head. Sun protection for the heat. The hat also completed the look, enhancing Ethan's cool, handsome features. "Put on the bracelet from yesterday." "Do I have to?" "Yes, you must." Her commanding tone brooked no refusal. Ethan opened his drawer, took out the blue woven bracelet he'd put away yesterday, and put it on. He then noticed Victoria had one on her wrist too. Hers red, clearly a matching couple set. Not only were the bracelets matching, but their outfits today also looked coordinated. He finally understood why Victoria had been so insistent on changing his clothes. How could he believe she didn't have other intentions toward him? Ethan was slow to pick up on romantic cues, mostly because he hadn't been loved for so long in his past life, leading to self-doubt. But however slow he wasn't completely oblivious. He could sense Victoria's care and excessive attention towards him. As the saying goes, how can someone standing right next to a bonfire not feel the heat? "Let's go." Straight out the door, Victoria said. "Aren't you making breakfast?" "Already made sandwiches. You can eat now if you want, or save them for the road." "Not hungry now. Let's take them with us." As they walked out together, they ran straight into Grace Parker and Olivia Bennett. This was the earliest Olivia Bennett had ever woken up. She was brushing her teeth in the yard, and when she saw Victoria emerging from Ethan's bedroom, she nearly choked on her toothpaste foam. She quickly rinsed her mouth and asked, "Did you two sleep together last night?" Victoria looked at her, amused, offering no explanation. Finally, Ethan, seeing how flustered Olivia looked, simply said, "No." Olivia breathed an inexplicable sigh of relief. "Then why did she come out of your room?" "Helping me pick out clothes." Only then did Olivia notice their seemingly matching outfits. Her heart clenched, and a wave of sourness washed over her. Olivia clearly hadn't slept well. She looked much worse than usual and had dark circles under her eyes. After being stuck in the village for days, she'd been dreaming of going out, but now that she actually could, she felt inexplicably moody and restless, lacking motivation. Victoria got the car keys from the director. Grace Parker asked, "Are you leaving now?" "Yeah, the date spot is a bit far. An early start means more time to have fun." "Where is it?" Grace thought if they were heading the same way, she could find an excuse to ride with them. With her there, Victoria wouldn't dare try anything with Ethan. Victoria glanced at her, instantly reading her thoughts. "It's the opposite direction from you." "Different routes," she said coolly. Grace bit her lip and muttered softly, "I was just asking casually." With hundreds of thousands watching on the Twitch stream, her actions nearly exposed her hidden feelings. Victoria took the keys and got into the driver's seat. Ethan opened the passenger door. "You're driving?" "Yep, get in." Victoria turned on the car stereo and selected a few tracks. Ethan was astonished to find it was all the instrumental music he usually listened to. Victoria drove quickly but smoothly. With a cameraman accompanying them, they couldn't delve into deep topics, sticking to small talk instead. Upon reaching the destination, Victoria found a parking spot. The moment she stepped out of the car, she was recognized. The show had been streaming on Twitch for 5 days and trending daily on Twitter. It was hard not to know about it, and Ethan was the most discussed participant. Victoria got out first, her striking beauty instantly attracting furtive glances and phone cameras. Ethan followed. The production crew had chosen the location, but Ethan had planned the day's activities. Considering the need for footage, Ethan immediately led Victoria to buy tickets for the aquatic park. Victoria had brought a Polaroid camera. Seeing Ethan looking up at a dolphin, she raised the camera and clicked the shutter. Hearing the sound, Ethan turned around. "You took a picture of me?" "Just documenting beautiful things," Victoria replied, suddenly energized. After exploring the aquatic park, they bought snacks nearby. Ethan bought whatever Victoria pointed at. She seemed keen on picking out small trinkets, keychains, headbands, fans, earrings. Spotting a pottery studio, Victoria immediately grabbed Ethan's hand and pulled him inside. "Make me one of these as a gift. I want one handcrafted to buy you." Ethan had tried pottery long ago, but had forgotten the feel. "I'm bad at crafts." "It's okay," Victoria reassured him. "I'll love whatever you make." In the observation lounge, Amelia Harper stared blankly at the screen. "Ethan, do you even realize what you're doing with Victoria?" She thought. Everything, the keychains he chose, the cotton candy they ate, the bubble tea he picked, it was all a mirror of things Ethan had once done for her. Their own first date had been almost identical. Ethan had been incredibly attentive. If she merely glanced at something a second longer, he'd instantly understand she liked it and buy it for her. At first, Amelia had watched coldly as Ethan bought Victoria those little trinkets. They were cheap, worthless sentimentally, usually forgotten and discarded like junk soon after being received. But then, she saw Ethan lead Victoria into the pottery studio. Her expression changed drastically. Amelia stared intently at them. In her memory, the most meaningful gift Ethan had ever given her was the pair of handcrafted dolls sitting by the TV cabinet at home. He had sculpted them himself, inscribed both their names on them, a token of their love. When Ethan moved out, he seemed to have forgotten the handcrafted dolls. They remained on the TV cabinet, gathering dust. Such inexpensive little things were always overlooked by her, until Ethan left. Then, the handcrafted dolls, standing there alone, suddenly became incredibly conspicuous in her sight. She was furious with Ethan for breaking off the engagement, furious that he'd left without a word. She spat harsh words, claiming to hate him, yet she had kept the dolls he'd made, even though the base of one had cracked. She hadn't thrown them away. She couldn't quite explain this feeling. It wasn't lingering affection for Ethan, surely not. She was just sentimental, she told herself. She got used to seeing things, and it felt strange when they were gone. That's all. Of all the days Victoria Harper has been filming this show, this is the first time I've seen her having so much fun, like a college student. Setting aside everything else, they look really good together, such a well-matched pair. Are they going to a pottery workshop? It looks easier than it actually is. It was like her ears were stuffed with cotton. Amelia Harper couldn't hear anything. She watched numbly as Ethan and Victoria Harper entered the pottery studio. The two sat near the balcony, bathed in sunlight and framed by green leaves. They looked so perfectly matched. Ethan kneaded the clay while Victoria Harper sat opposite him, watching intently, occasionally reaching out a finger to touch it. Slowly, the clay in Ethan's hands took the shape of a doll. Made purely by intuition with zero technique, these handcrafted dolls were always disproportionate, the face not quite round. It ended up looking a bit like a frog, in an ugly cute way. Ethan was too embarrassed to admit he'd been trying to sculpt Victoria Harper. Victoria Harper, however, seemed quite fond of it. It looks quite similar to the one you made before. I like it a lot. The one I made before. Ethan didn't seem to recall. Victoria Harper chuckled softly. It's nothing. The freshly sculpted ceramic doll needed to be taken away to dry before being painted. Ethan reached down to slap and then scratch his calf. There were many green plants around, attracting mosquitoes, and Ethan's blood type was particularly susceptible. He hadn't felt the itching while focused on the pottery, but now he noticed several bites on his leg. Suddenly, Victoria Harper, sitting opposite him, lifted her foot and rubbed it against his calf under the table. This action made Ethan's eyes widen instantly as he stared at her in disbelief. Anyone else doing this under the table would be subtle about it. But Victoria Harper? She was audacious. The small table couldn't hide her leg at all. Any larger movement, and she might have knocked the table over. Ethan quickly pulled his leg away. What are you doing? Victoria Harper blinked innocently. Aren't the mosquitoes biting you? I sprayed repellent on my legs. Rubbing some onto yours will stop them. This clearly wasn't about mosquito bites. She was deliberately. Ethan, despite his years, felt his face flush for the first time because of someone's actions. What a scheming woman. Ethan pressed his legs together, not daring to stretch them out again, afraid Victoria Harper would try to rub against him once more. Victoria Harper ordered 2 drinks. As she turned to get them, she pressed her lips together, hiding a smile. She handed one to Ethan. He took it and asked, "Why did you use the exchange card yesterday?" "I worked so hard to get it. Of course I had to use it at the right opportunity. If I missed it, I might regret it for the rest of my life." "You like me?" Victoria Harper countered. "I like you. Do you believe it?" Before, he wouldn't have dared to believe it. Now he had no choice but to. Victoria Harper was known for being direct. "I didn't tell you before because I was afraid you'd avoid me. I'm Amelia Harper's ex-boyfriend." Victoria Harper bit her straw. "So what?" She looked completely unconcerned, seemingly unaware of the problem. Ethan said in a low voice, "Amelia Harper is your niece. I used to call you uncle along with her." Victoria Harper found it amusing. "So you see me as an elder?" "You could say that," Ethan stated plainly. "I can't possibly be with you." "Ethan, have you noticed something? You said you can't possibly be with me. Not that you won't like me. Doesn't that imply you felt some adrenaline bonding towards me too? But because of my connection to Harper Enterprises, you don't want trouble, and that's why you're rejecting me." Ethan's expression froze, then his brow furrowed deeply. Victoria Harper put down her drink, crossed her hands under her chin, and said gently, in a reasoning tone, "I'm Amelia Harper's uncle, not your uncle. What are you afraid of? Is my niece going to dictate who I date? I like you, and I admit it openly. I'm pursuing you, and I'm doing it seriously. You have the right to refuse me, but on this dating show, you don't have the right to stop me." His throat felt tight like a wad of cotton was stuck. Ethan took several large gulps of water. He racked his brain, but couldn't fathom why Victoria Harper would like him, or when she had started. Victoria Harper was far too calm, discussing this as if stating an irrelevant truth like the earth is round. He should refute her. If he didn't now, later, she would face criticism and condemnation. "Is being with me such a terrifying prospect, Ethan? Have you ever thought about what happens if people find out you like me? How they'll look at you, what they'll say behind your back. People will talk regardless. I don't care what they say. All I know is that life is short. Seize the day. If you like something, you have to fight for it. Seize it, snatch it, because no one is going to just hand it to you." Desire and possessiveness flared in Victoria Harper's eyes. She locked her gaze onto Ethan, enunciating each word clearly. "I don't think there's anything shameful about pursuing what you like. What's truly shameful is knowing what you want, telling yourself you don't, and then envying others' success." Victoria Harper displayed her confident flamboyance, unabashedly revealing her heart's desire to Ethan. Speaking of envy, the person she used to envy most was Amelia Harper, envying her for having the best of Ethan. Well now, Amelia's chance was gone. The two turned off their mics and spoke softly. The cameras captured the scene, but couldn't hear their words. To outsiders, the silent atmosphere looked harmonious and beautiful. "Ethan, didn't you want to hide this from me? Why confess now? You already sensed it. How could I keep hiding it? Haven't you heard the saying? Sincerity is the ultimate killer move. Whether I told you or not, you'd still avoid me. So I might as well be upfront and leave you nowhere to hide." The Victoria Harper he knew in his past life seemed like a different person. Wasn't she marriage averse? Why had she set her sights on him? They fell into silence. Thankfully, a staff member brought over the fired ceramic doll. Staring at the ugly little thing, Victoria Harper burst out laughing. The laughter broke the awkwardness. Ethan sighed helplessly, looking for paints and brushes. "Go ahead and laugh. I told you my handiwork is terrible. And I told you, I like it no matter how it turns out. Victoria Harper also picked up a watercolor brush and leaned in closer to paint, their heads almost touching. The camera person seized the opportunity, zooming in for a close-up. The post-production team already pictured the effects, pink bubbles floating around them. Finally, the ceramic doll was painted. Victoria Harper wrote her and Ethan's names on the underside of the base. This image was magnified on the live broadcast screen. Amelia Harper wished she could rush in and pull them apart. But watching from outside the screen, she could do nothing but maintain a dark, gloomy face. The ceramic doll should have been a memory belonging to her and Ethan. Now it had become Victoria Harper's too. Watching their heads lean closer and closer together, Amelia could hardly contain the irritation boiling inside her. Hidden in a corner where no one could see, her hand rested on her thigh, nails digging deep into the skin until it broke. Even when blood welled up, she didn't loosen her grip. She knew Ethan and Victoria Harper were going on a date today, had mentally prepared herself, trying to stay calm all morning. But now, all that composure shattered the moment she saw the handcrafted doll. All her negative emotions surged like a tidal wave. What she thought belonged to her and her alone had now been stolen. She had never found Victoria Harper so unbearable. Amelia was so lost in her own thoughts that she no longer registered what was happening around her. She only came back to herself when she saw Ethan take the bubble tea Victoria Harper had barely sipped from. Victoria was carrying snacks in one hand, a camera hanging from her neck, snapping pictures as she walked. Whenever she got thirsty, she'd lean close to Ethan and drink from the cup he was holding. Victoria loved taking landscape shots, but in almost every one of her photos, Ethan appeared. Even with over 100 pictures, something still felt incomplete, until she handed her phone to a passerby and asked for a picture of her and Ethan together. As the shutter clicked, Victoria Harper smiled brightly and reached out to hold Ethan's hand. To Amelia, that smile was blinding, disgustingly bright. She sneered to herself. All she did was pick up something I threw away. Sophia Reynolds clutched her chest like she was about to swoon. Oh my God, I'm dying. Please, ignore everyone else and just get married already. I've never seen Ethan like this before. And Victoria Harper? She's a whole different person today. These two are seriously into each other. Ethan's great at fishing, and Victoria Harper's great at reeling people in. They're a match made in heaven. As she said, everyone else, Sophia deliberately glanced in Amelia's direction. Married? They could barely make it as a couple. Marriage was out of the question. As long as Amelia was around, Victoria Harper could dream on about becoming Ethan's wife. She watched their entire date unfold, and whether it was her imagination or not, she couldn't shake the feeling. That Victoria Harper was slowly erasing her presence in Ethan's heart, just like that handcrafted doll with his name on it. When Ethan looked back one day and remembered making it, who would come to mind first? Victoria Harper. Or her. Sure, she and Ethan were in the past, done and over, but just the thought of another woman taking her place made her feel a raw, clawing panic. Meanwhile, Victoria Harper cradled the handcrafted doll in her arms like it was a treasure. She snapped dozens of photos and asked a staff member to return her phone. Then, without hesitation, she posted a 9-image collage on Instagram with her privacy settings set to public, visible to everyone in their circle. The caption, like. A glint of mischief sparked in her eyes. She almost tagged Amelia just to make sure she saw it, but decided to let fate handle that. It was 5 p.m. when they left the Pottery studio. The drive back would take 2 hours, putting them home just in time for dinner. As they were about to get in the car, Victoria spotted a long line outside an ice cream shop and suddenly decided she wanted some. I'll get it, Ethan offered. Victoria stayed where she was, watching Ethan stand in line under the hot sun. The queue was long, and it took 10 minutes before it was his turn. He looked back at her, only to see a man standing next to her. They were too far away for him to hear anything. All he saw was Victoria pointing in his direction. The man glanced over at Ethan, hesitated for a moment, then walked away. When Ethan returned with the ice cream, he immediately crossed the street. Who was that guy just now? Just a fly? Ignore it. Victoria grinned as she looked at the massive scoop in his hand. Wow, you actually got me the deluxe one? How many flavors is this? I asked the staff to give me a bit of everything. Didn't count, but probably around 8. I always dreamed of eating ice cream like this when I was a kid. Wait, you never had it before? I did, Victoria said, taking a satisfied bite. Just someone else's leftovers. From the corner of her eye, she noticed Ethan staring at her. She turned to meet his gaze. Ethan looked caught off guard, almost flustered, and quickly looked away. Victoria held out her ice cream with a playful smile. Want a bite? Ethan backed away. No thanks. If I wanted some, I would have got my own. Can we go now? Sure, let's head back. Victoria climbed into the passenger seat. She thought it was hot outside. Turns out it was even hotter in the car. She wished she'd asked to turn on the AC earlier. As planned, Ethan took the wheel for the drive back. He buckled his seatbelt, and Victoria leaned over. Buckle mine too. His hand paused mid-motion. Hurry, the ice cream's melting in my hand, she urged. Ethan glanced over. She was right. The heat in the car had sped up the melting, and it was dripping down her fingers. He handed her a wet wipe, then leaned over her to fasten the belt. Despite trying to keep his distance, there was still unavoidable contact. It's uncomfortable. Pull him more to the right. Yeah, there. Victoria raised her arm, giving him instructions as he adjusted the belt. In the end, the strap ran diagonally across her chest, pushing her already prominent bust even higher. Ethan's eyes accidentally caught the view. No doubt about it. Victoria had done that on purpose. Ever since their little confession, he thought she'd ease off a bit. Instead, she kept getting bolder. That was always how it was with her. He wouldn't realize her intentions at first, but by the time it was over, he'd catch the playful gleam in her eyes. She licked the melted ice cream off her hand like a mischievous kitten. Twitch chat exploded. Victoria Harper is too much. So sweet, so sexy. Ethan, you lucky dog. Is she always this good at flirting? But she's wild in private. She's totally different with Ethan. Did you see her face when that guy tried to talk to her? Ice cold. But the second she looked at Ethan, boom, instant charm. Forget the other couples. These two are the real deal. A seductive beauty and a master fisherman. I'm hooked. Ethan haters are speechless right now. Halfway through the ride, the moon rose into the sky. Victoria rolled down the window, letting the night breeze whip through her long hair. She leaned out, yelling into the forest as if releasing her excitement from the day. Strangely enough, instead of feeling tired, she felt more energized than ever. Ethan, look, she pointed toward the sky. The moon's gorgeous tonight. Ethan followed her finger, and yeah, it really was. The production crew was thrilled with today's footage. The two of them looked like friends. And something more. Victoria especially had surprised everyone. Just like the audience said, she seemed like a different person around Ethan, more genuine, more alive. The director watched the live stream and couldn't help but sigh. If only the other two couples could be this cooperative. Just thinking about the others gave him a headache. The original phrase wasn't "the moon is beautiful," but "the moonlight is beautiful," which is a subtle way of saying "I love you." The wind stung Ethan's eyes, and he squinted, replying, "Close the window a bit. The wind's too strong." Victoria Harper turned to look at Ethan, who was focused on driving. The wind blew her hair across her face. She brushed it away with a sigh. Dense. There wasn't much to film on the road, so the photographer switched off the camera and fell asleep in the back seat. Ever since our show started airing, it's been constantly on Twitter trends. Just the viewers clicking into the Twitch chat number in the millions, Victoria Harper said, finding a topic to break the silence with Ethan. Each guest has their own Twitch chat, meaning nearly 10 million people are watching simultaneously online, with discussion volume hitting over 100 million. Amelia is watching you in the Twitch chat too. The topic shifted so fast, it almost gave him whiplash. Why bring up Amelia out of the blue? You didn't know, did you? Amelia joined the show too, but as an observer, along with William. Victoria Harper rolled the window up, leaving only a hand's-width gap. She spoke while scrutinizing Ethan's expression. After all, they had been together for 3 years and almost had a wedding ceremony. She wanted to see if Ethan had truly moved on, if he still had feelings for Amelia. Only a flicker of surprise crossed Ethan's face. He knew when signing the contract that William would join as an observer. Even then, he thought the director was great at capitalizing on hot topics. He hadn't expected them to invite Amelia too. What was this? A next convention? Ethan could already feel the production crew's voyeuristic, drama-loving attitude, enjoying the chaos from the sidelines. What could Amelia observe from the observation lounge? Him dating Victoria Harper? Or him exchanging DM matches with her best friend? A fleeting sense of discomfort washed over him. His breakup with Amelia hadn't exactly been amicable. Knowing her personality, she was probably hoping to laugh at his misfortune. The worse off he was, the happier she'd be. Unfortunately for her, she was bound to be disappointed. Is this show incredibly rich or something? How can they invite just about anyone? Ethan asked. Other variety shows were plastered with sponsors and constantly inserted ad breaks, but their program hadn't shown any of that since the beginning. Maybe the owner was so wealthy they didn't need sponsorships. Victoria Harper hadn't expected that to be Ethan's first reaction. He was always different, always saying surprising things. She chuckled softly. Is it possible they weren't invited by the production crew, but offered themselves up? Amelia was like that, and so were she and Grace Parker, joining for free, without a fee, all for you. Victoria Harper added, besides that, there are a few other things I need to tell you. Brace yourself. Ethan instinctively tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Go on. Victoria Harper told Ethan everything about the Twitter trends. The whole internet knows about you cutting ties with the Johnson family. Not only that, but Harper Enterprises has also bought a lot of negative press about you, spreading rumors that you cheated on Amelia during your relationship and frequented nightclubs multiple times. So it was this again. Around this time in his past life, he had also been smeared online, though not this severely. It seemed his breaking off the engagement had displeased many people, enough for them to resort to such low-handed tactics to retaliate. It was better than he'd anticipated, so Ethan found it perfectly acceptable. However, when did I ever go to nightclubs and cheat? Ethan asked. Some of the pictures are AI face swaps. And people believe that. They see it as entertainment. They don't care about the truth. Victoria Harper tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I have the evidence refuting the rumors right here. How do you want to handle it? I suggest you hire a lawyer and sue them for libel. It's a guaranteed win. Matters like these illegal activities should be handled by professionals. Ethan didn't respond immediately, instead asking curiously, when did you find out? Yesterday. She found out yesterday and gathered the evidence so quickly. If you hand this evidence over to me, aren't you worried it will affect your relationship with Harper Enterprises? Harper Enterprises? Even the Harper family can't boss me around. However, Richard Johnson is also involved in this. If you can't bring yourself to act, I can help you. Ethan didn't believe in free lunches. Everything comes at a price. Taking advantage now meant paying it back eventually. I have nothing to give you. You know I've cut ties with the Johnson family, so I don't even have money right now. Ethan stated frankly, he had no money, and offering himself was out of the question. He wouldn't sell his body for this. Looking at it this way, he had nothing of value to trade. Ethan didn't want to owe Victoria Harper a favor either. Just as he prepared to refuse, Victoria Harper spoke. There is indeed something I want very much. After the date, the production crew will have us send DM matches again. I hope you'll send this one to me. Just that. No restrictions on the content. Send whatever you want. Just send it only to me, not anyone else. Victoria Harper knew, well, that pursuing a man required a gradual approach, not rushing things. She needed to maintain an air of mystery, making the man curious, sparking his desire to explore. If she could force him to be with her through small favors, all she'd get was an empty shell without a soul. So, what's the difference between this and getting something for nothing? Ethan thought. Victoria Harper explained the difference was huge. At least she had told him beforehand, showing him respect instead of acting unilaterally. She had done a lot of thinking over the past 2 days. Doing good deeds without telling him seemed meaningless. She was pursuing him. How would he know everything she was doing for him if she didn't say? She wanted Ethan to know she cared about him, was always paying attention to him, worrying about him, protecting him. Men probably needed this kind of security too, right? It was Victoria Harper's first time pursuing a man, and she couldn't quite grasp the right balance. All her methods came from online searches, like how men prefer sexy over cute and innocent, how accidental touches can trigger hormones, attract him with beauty, keep him with personality, create tension with independence, give him security with respect. Too far, he might become distant. Too close, he might get annoyed. Too little, it might fade. Too much, he might feel smothered. It was so difficult. Victoria Harper waited quietly while Ethan thought. If he refused her, she wouldn't be discouraged. She would still help him resolve these matters secretly. Besides the evidence clearing your name, what else is in the materials you prepared? There's also evidence of tax evasion by several subsidiaries under Harper Enterprises. That trouble should keep them busy for a while. There's stuff on the Johnson family too. Ethan made his decision. Don't give me the Johnson family stuff. I'll handle them myself. Ethan knew his parents well. They would sacrifice family members for profit anytime. Richard Johnson simping for Benjamin Harper like this clearly showed he had forgotten the warning Ethan had given him before. Ethan knew the Johnson family situation very well. They engaged in some shady dealings, but nothing major. If exposed, the worst would be a fine, which Richard Johnson could easily afford. Richard Johnson cared more about his reputation than money. He always cultivated the image of a devoted husband, projecting a perfect family life alongside a successful career. Netizens bought into this facade completely. Richard Johnson had meticulously covered up the fact that Margaret Johnson suffered from mental illness and was responsible for their daughter's death. 19 years had passed. Finding evidence wasn't impossible, but it would take a lot of time. Even if found, the only consequence would be Margaret Johnson's confinement to the Springfield Mental Health Center, which wouldn't significantly impact Richard Johnson. Ethan detested Richard Johnson even more than Margaret. Margaret's actions could at least be partially attributed to her illness, but Richard was purely malicious and disgusting. He knowingly broke the law, treated his son like a tool, and neglected his own mother. He showed no filial piety or kindness, lacking even a sense of responsibility or morality, only hypocrisy. Based on the timeline, this was when Richard Johnson started his affair with a mistress he secretly kept hidden for years. In his past life, by the time Margaret found out, her health had already deteriorated. The mistress moved in, and Richard treated Margaret with cold disdain. Her previously stabilized mental illness relapsed violently, and she ended up stabbing Richard with a knife. The once loving couple became bitter enemies. That single stab destroyed any lingering reluctance to be cruel Richard might have felt toward her. Margaret hadn't struck a fatal blow. Upon recovering, Richard arranged to have her sent to the Springfield Mental Health Center. Ethan was away on a business trip at the time and knew nothing about the family situation. By the time he returned, Margaret was critically ill, bedridden, and unable to care for herself. Seeing Ethan, she could only whisper 3 words, "I'm sorry." Back then, Ethan didn't understand why she was apologizing to him. Not long after, Margaret Johnson died in the Springfield Mental Health Center. Ethan had recently learned a new internet slang term, unhinged couple. It fit Margaret and Richard perfectly. Their actions deserved such consequences. They weren't worthy of sympathy. Ethan had thought that leaving the Johnson family would grant him a period of peace and quiet. He hadn't expected Richard Johnson to be so eager to become Harper Enterprises' lapdog, determined to squeeze out Ethan's last bit of value even after he had left. Sure enough, play the dog for long enough, and you forget you're human. Ethan decided to start with the mistress. Since Margaret Johnson was currently mentally stable and physically healthy, why not give her something to do? Didn't she enjoy feigning madness? Let her go truly mad. Ethan eagerly anticipated her performance. After all, in his previous life, even while sick, she had managed to stab Richard Johnson hard enough to nearly castrate him. Beside him, Victoria Harper watched Ethan drive. His eyes were fixed on the road ahead. From the side, his eyelashes looked long, and the curve of his eyes was just right, but the bright sparkle they held during the day had now dimmed. "Ethan, let me help you. You don't even have a phone or computer right now, let alone connections." "Who says I don't have connections? I'll arrange for a lawyer myself, but I will need your help contacting them." The first person who came to Ethan's mind was Samuel Sullivan. Samuel knew his situation well. He was the perfect choice. Still, Ethan didn't want to take advantage of Victoria Harper. "Name your price. I'll transfer the money once the production crew finishes filming." "No need," Victoria Harper said. "I told you all I want is that one text message. Don't feel any pressure. Amelia Harper is my niece. She did something wrong, and as her aunt, I should step up and correct it. Even if you hadn't found out about these things, I would have revealed the truth and sought justice for you." Ethan thought grimly. "So now you remember she's your niece? Judging by what you said to me today, you certainly weren't acting like her aunt then." Ethan asked. The director must know about the Twitter trends these past few days, right? Did he not tell me because he was worried it would affect the show's ratings? Victoria Harper replied. "He was afraid it would affect your mood. What could you do about it while you're here anyway?" Ethan asked reflexively. "If I can't do anything, then why are you telling me all this now?" Victoria Harper suddenly leaned closer. "If I don't tell you, how will you know you're in my heart?" "Ethan." Finally, they arrived at Oak Ridge Retreat. The cameraman woke up with a jolt from the bumpy ride, rubbing his eyes. "Are we here?" "We're here." Ethan parked the car. "Chingu, you can get out first." The cameraman, still groggy from sleep, dazedly picked up his camera and got out of the car. With the cameraman gone, Ethan's expression turned serious. "Victoria Harper, thank you for telling me all this regardless. But there are some things I need to make clear right now. I don't want to owe you any favors. You're right. During the show, I have no right to interfere with your personal life. Who you like or pursue is your freedom, and it's part of the rules set by the production crew. But outside the show, for both our sakes, let's keep contact to a minimum. I've already broken off my engagement with Amelia Harper, and I want a clean break. Do you understand what a clean break means?" Ethan had been formulating these words the entire drive. They were harsh, but anything less wouldn't work. He didn't know how long Victoria Harper had liked him, nor how deep her feelings ran. From their interactions over the past few days, he knew Victoria Harper was a good woman, bold, confident, beautiful, generous, and skilled at communication. She constantly drew his attention. Ethan even had fleeting, subtle thoughts. If only Victoria Harper wasn't Amelia Harper's aunt. Ethan had his reservations. He wouldn't let one Amelia Harper make him fear marriage. He intended to find a girlfriend, date, get married, and have his own children someday. But that person wouldn't be Victoria Harper. Victoria Harper remained silent. In the dim car, she lowered her gaze, her eyelashes trembling uncontrollably. She felt a lump in her throat. Usually, whatever Victoria Harper set out to do, she accomplished with ease. Even failure would only spur her on. Only with Ethan had she tasted the bitterness of defeat. It turned out that liking someone wasn't always sweet. More often, it was bitter and confusing. Just because I'm Amelia Harper's aunt, you won't even give me a chance? Victoria Harper asked bitterly. Ethan, you're too cruel, but I won't give up easily. I'll prove to you that your reservations are unnecessary. With that, she opened the door and got out. Their group was the last to arrive back home. Grace Parker and the others had returned to Oak Ridge Retreat in the afternoon and were currently in the kitchen cooking dinner. Hearing the noise in the yard, Grace Parker went out first. Olivia Bennett followed close behind and, upon seeing Ethan, called out excitedly, "You're finally back." Ethan went inside. "Are you guys cooking?" Grace Parker, "Yeah, we were just waiting for you to get back so we could eat." Ethan glanced at the four people inside and asked casually, "When did you all get back? How was the date today?" "Fun." Ethan genuinely didn't care at all that she had gone out with other men. Grace Parker sounded downcast. "We came back right after lunch. It wasn't much fun." Olivia Bennett's personality didn't allow for sugarcoating. Pouting, she complained, "It wasn't fun. I don't like escape rooms." As soon as the two women finished speaking, the expressions on Logan Prescott's and Christopher Foster's faces changed. Christopher laughed sheepishly. "Looks like my arrangements weren't up to par. Next time, I'll prepare properly and make sure you're satisfied." Ever since getting the task card, Christopher had been prepping for this date, planning out everything he could think of. He specifically chose the escape room, thinking the scary atmosphere would create opportunities to get close to Olivia Bennett. When someone experiences tension or excitement, they might misattribute this physiological arousal to romantic attraction for someone nearby. It's called adrenaline bonding. He imagined that when Olivia got scared, he could sweep her into his arms to comfort her, hold her hand while solving puzzles in the dark, shield her behind him when danger appeared. In such an environment, he could fully display his thoughtfulness, gentleness, and intelligence, making her fall for his mature charm. Compared to a boring stroll through the aquatic park, this kind of date location clearly offered more chances. Plus, audiences nowadays enjoy watching escape rooms. Inside, even a simple touch could make hearts race and imaginations run wild. But Christopher never anticipated that despite all his meticulous planning, Olivia Bennett wouldn't like it at all, even calling it boring right to his face. Olivia wasn't good at hiding her feelings. She said whatever was on her mind, and her thoughts were written all over her face. It was clear she was genuinely disappointed with the date. Oblivious as ever, Olivia didn't notice Christopher's strange mood. She even tried to console him. "It's not that your arrangements were bad. It's the production crew's poor choice. Why pick an escape room of all things? It was so boring and awkward." Christopher felt too embarrassed to admit he had insisted on the escape room. Knowing this now, he wished he'd picked the aquatic park instead. Olivia was curious about Victoria Harper and Ethan's date location. She asked, "What about you guys? Where did you go?" "The aquatic park," Victoria Harper replied. "It's a bit far from here, almost a 2-hour drive." "Was it fun?" "It was decent. There's a large pedestrian street over there with lots of snacks." Olivia noticed the handcrafted dolls in Victoria's hands. "What's this ugly thing?" Grace Parker looked over too. Victoria held up the dolls, glancing coolly at Ethan beside her. "We made these at a pottery studio today." "So ugly," Olivia commented with a look of disdain, yet she couldn't help staring. She found that the ugly things looked kind of okay after a while, maybe interesting as decorations. Olivia sighed. "Hearing you talk about it makes me wish I'd gone to the aquatic park too. Sounds like fun." Olivia would occasionally visit escape rooms, but she just wasn't in the mood today. Plus, once inside, Christopher kept trying to get close. She told him repeatedly she wasn't scared, but he still tried to hold her hand. She'd pull away, and he'd grab it again, which really got on her nerves. That's why she wore a sullen expression after leaving the escape room, only starting to feel slightly better after returning. But now, seeing Victoria and Ethan together, that familiar annoyance resurfaced. Puzzled, Olivia thought for a moment and concluded that the root cause of this strange emotion was simple. She cared too much about her friend Amelia Harper. Ethan used to be so obviously into Amelia, doing so much for her, and now he claimed he wasn't interested anymore, and he was hitting on Amelia's aunt? His getting close to Victoria Harper had to be an attempt to get revenge on Amelia. Seriously, how shameless. With that thought, she shot Ethan a harsh glare which the cameras caught. Viewers in the Twitch chat commented that Olivia's look was full of contempt, clearly showing her dislike for Ethan. It seemed that among the 3 female contestants, only Olivia had a normal perspective, consistently treating Ethan with disdain. Victoria Harper stroked the handcrafted dolls in her lap, her gaze sweeping around. Noticing Grace Parker staring intently at the dolls, she smiled. "Where did your group go? Care to share the details?" Grace Parker seemed reluctant to elaborate. Logan Prescott scratched his head awkwardly. "Our group didn't do much exciting either. We went to an arcade, but it was too hot, so we didn't play much. Plus, there wasn't much good food there." As he spoke, he glanced cautiously at Grace. In reality, the arcade had air conditioning. Logan had chosen it because he was skilled at various games and wanted to show off his charm. Unlike Olivia, Grace didn't wear her moods on her sleeve. She had a gentle personality and spoke softly, but interacting with her, you could clearly feel her distance. She wasn't easy to get close to. Around noon, Logan had booked a Western restaurant, planning for some romance. Who would have thought Grace would suddenly feel sick, her face turning pale? He panicked and rushed her back to the house to rest. After returning, Grace's color slowly returned, and she seemed more energetic, but the day's date was ruined. He had even prepared something for the evening. To say he wasn't disappointed would be a lie. Now, seeing Grace looking lively while facing Ethan, something clicked in his mind. Turns out, the simp was actually him. Logan continued, "All right, Grace, and I bought a lot of flowers. Take a look, you could divide them up." In fact, Grace had bought the flowers herself. Logan said this, subtly trying to stake his claim, giving the impression that he and Grace had an ambiguous, close relationship. Grace spoke up, "Let's eat first. I'll divide them later and bring them to your rooms." "I'll put my things away first, be right out," Victoria said, heading back to her bedroom. Christopher clapped Logan on the shoulder. "Let's head to the kitchen." Ethan put his things down and went to help in the kitchen as well. Back in her bedroom, Victoria looked at the photos on her camera, an unconscious smile appearing. But then she remembered what Ethan had said in the car, and the smile instantly vanished. Ethan actually wanted to cut ties with her? She would make him understand. From now on, no matter how he tried to hide, he wouldn't escape her grasp. Victoria possessed a hint of obsessive intensity. Once she set her mind on something, she wouldn't give up easily. The more Ethan tried to avoid her, the more she wanted to conquer him. He retreats an inch, she advances a yard. He could go anywhere, but he could never escape her watch. The cameraman following her lowered his camera, noticing Victoria's dark expression. "Boss, are you feeling down?" he asked with concern. "Yeah, I'm in a bad mood," she replied coldly. "And if I'm feeling bad, someone else needs to feel bad with me. Didn't Benjamin Harper want to sign for that land in the Westbrook district? Get the word out, hike up the price, make him lose his shirt." And Richard Johnson. Ethan had said he wanted to handle things himself, but she was genuinely upset right now and just wanted to stir up some trouble. Report the Johnson Group's illegal activities and violations to the authorities, and hire some marketing accounts and online trolls. Spread the news about him abusing his son and the elderly on Twitter. Let him get a taste of online bullying too. Whenever Victoria Harper wore that expression, someone was bound to suffer. The photographer shivered uncontrollably, breaking out in a cold sweat. "Boss, Ethan already turned you down. Why are you still helping him?" Victoria Harper lounged on the wicker chair, stroking the bunny plush in her arms intermittently. "Don't you think this makes it more interesting? If he actually got together with me over such a small favor, he wouldn't be Ethan. I prefer a higher degree of difficulty. The more he dislikes me, the more I want to conquer him. Besides, I don't think I'm not in his heart. He just doesn't dare admit it. The day he does." Victoria Harper didn't elaborate, letting out a low chuckle instead. When that day came, her soul and Ethan's would achieve perfect synergy. They would embrace, cling, tear at each other, merge into one. Saying things like, "Your mind was too cliché." Twisted, extreme love knew no boundaries. "You are me, we are symbiotic, sinking and falling together." She wanted Ethan to lose his sanity, to show unbridled possessiveness when loving someone, not tiptoe around everything. The thought sent a delicious shiver down her spine, making the hair on her skin stand on end. Victoria Harper gazed at the night outside the window, her somber eyes like those of a nocturnal predator hunting for prey. At dinner that evening, Victoria Harper uncharacteristically didn't sit next to Ethan. She ate her food coolly. Everyone noticed the change in Victoria Harper. Christopher and Logan both concluded that Ethan must have disappointed her on today's date. The thought brightened their moods considerably. That's how people are. Your own failure hurts, but someone else's success is even harder to swallow. Grace Parker secretly watched Victoria Harper and Ethan, wishing more than anyone that Victoria would stay far away from him. Olivia Bennett was completely clueless and no threat. Only Victoria Harper, bold in her actions, always saying suggestive things, a master of ambiguity, never hid her affection for Ethan. Grace Parker worried Ethan might fall for it if he wasn't careful. Today, it was Ethan and Victoria Harper's turn to cook. After dinner, they silently cleared the dishes into the kitchen. Each washed their own share, neither speaking. Ethan wasn't used to it first, but on second thought, wasn't this exactly what he wanted? Victoria Harper's coldness clearly meant she'd taken his words to heart. This was good. Matters of the heart should be dealt with decisively. Ambiguity just wasted time and drained others' energy. Victoria's reaction suggested she probably didn't like him that much after all. Ethan was quite satisfied with this. Ethan slid a stack of plates into the clean water. You go rest. I'll handle the rest. Without a word, Victoria Harper untied her apron and left. Ethan automatically watched her go, thinking her figure, melting into the darkness, looked remarkably lonely. Why did Victoria Harper and Ethan seem weird? Did something happen in the car? They were fine on the date today. Why are they so cold now? Not talking. She didn't even tie her apron, and Victoria hasn't teased Ethan, which is rare. I'm actually not used to it. Good riddance. Looks like Victoria Harper finally flushed the sewage out of her brain and stopped liking Ethan. Whispering here, but I actually quite like this pair. Compared to the other two couples today, Ethan and Victoria Harper did so well. Olivia Bennett complained about everything in the escape room. Watching her was exhausting. Total princess syndrome. No idea how Christopher puts up with it. Grace Parker was okay, but way too distant, totally unapproachable like an iceberg. She's not usually like that with Ethan. Gotta say, Christopher picking the escape room was clearly a ploy to get touchy-feely with Olivia Bennett, right? He was constantly pulling and tugging at her inside. If I were Olivia, I'd have thrown a bigger fit than she did. Logan should just give up on Grace Parker. The film queen clearly doesn't like him. You can't force love. Her heart isn't with you. Usually, on these dating shows, you can kind of tell the direction after the first date. But these six are a total mystery. Can't figure them out at all. Is it possible not a single couple will form this season? Christopher and Logan today are like two simps. Hot calling the kettle black. They should just hug it out and cry together. Sweaty from washing dishes, Ethan stood in the yard for a while, enjoying the cool breeze. The director announced that the second round of DM matches would be sent tomorrow. In the observation lounge, Sophia's heart was breaking. Initially, she'd only shipped Ethan and Victoria Harper because she disliked Amelia and wanted to spite her. But watching them over the past few days, her feelings had become genuine. Now she was their number one shipper, even coining a ship name for them, Victhan, welded together. Watching their date unfold, they seemed more and more compatible. Ethan was reserved. Someone like him needed a bold, proactive partner to lower his defenses. Among the three women, Victoria's personality was the best fit, direct, saying whatever was on her mind. Sophia thought they'd grow closer after today's date, but instead, upon returning to Oak Ridge Retreat, one clammed up and the other became distant. They didn't even sit together at dinner, and her favorite kitchen interactions involved zero conversation. What was happening? Was the ship she was rooting for about to sink? Host Liam Carter received the director's task board. She announced, tomorrow is the second time the guests send their DM matches. This time it's a group challenge. If all the matches connect correctly, everyone gets one diamond. Even one wrong connection means no diamonds for anyone. Daniel Ford. This sounds really difficult. William nodded in agreement. Usually on dating shows, people send messages to whoever they went on a date with. But with this group, I honestly have no clue. Liam Carter brought out the board. All right, let's start with the easiest connection. Looking at the 6 guests on the panel, none seemed easy. Finally, psychologist Nathaniel Ellis spoke up. Olivia Bennett and Christopher will connect with each other. They won't change. Daniel Ford. But I feel like their date experience was terrible. Will Olivia really send her message to Christopher? Nathaniel Ellis. Who else would she send it to? Compared to Logan and Ethan, Christopher is clearly the more likely option. True. Liam Carter picked up a pen and drew a line connecting Olivia Bennett and Christopher. Okay, settled. What about the others? I think Logan will still choose Grace Parker. Daniel Ford. Even though Grace Parker is so cold to him, he won't give up? Nathaniel Ellis. Maintaining adult decorum. And again, who else would he choose besides Grace Parker? Daniel Ford. What if things change tomorrow? Nathaniel Ellis. We can adjust then. No big deal. Liam Carter drew Logan's line towards Grace Parker. Who will Grace Parker choose? This was the tricky part. Would Grace Parker choose decorum or stick to her guns? Nathaniel Ellis analyzed. Grace Parker clearly joined this show for Ethan. Based on all her behavior, she cares most about Ethan and couldn't care less what others think. So, she'll send her message to Ethan. As for Victoria Harper, Sophia, who hadn't spoken, stood up. Victoria Harper will definitely send hers to Ethan. I'd bet my life on it. Amelia, silent until now, scoffed. I disagree. Victoria hasn't even initiated conversation with Ethan since they got back. I think she's finally faced reality and knows it's impossible between them. Sophia Reynolds asked. All right, as Victoria Harper's niece, who do you think she'll send her DM to? Give me a reason. Christopher Foster. Why? Amelia Harper replied. Because she complimented how well Christopher Foster cooked the rice today. Huh? Sophia Reynolds burst out laughing. Praising his cooking means she's interested in him? Then what about yesterday and the day before? She praised Ethan Johnson's cooking at every meal, even said he was fit. Does that mean she's head over heels for him? Oh, right. You left early last time, so you don't know what DM Victoria Harper sent Ethan Johnson, do you? She said, young people really have boundless energy. What kind of energy do you suppose she meant? Amelia Harper flushed, unsure what exactly she was angry about, but forced herself to stick to her point. Anyway, Victoria Harper wouldn't send a DM to Ethan Johnson, and Ethan Johnson wouldn't send one to Victoria Harper. Sophia Reynolds, don't bring your personal feelings into the production crew. Oh, really? Who's the one bringing personal feelings? Sophia Reynolds stood up, hands on her hips. So young, yet such a scheming little thing. And don't forget, you made the most mistakes last time. Why should we listen to you? As Amelia Harper's current boyfriend, William Hayes naturally sided with her. You can't quite put it like that. Victoria Harper's attitude towards Ethan Johnson has clearly become more distant. Maybe she just came to her senses. Sophia Reynolds shot him a cold glare, cutting him off bluntly. You two, mind your own business. A pair of underachievers. Seeing the host wasn't connecting the lines yet, Sophia Reynolds simply walked up, snatched the pen, and quickly drew the line connecting Victoria Harper. Her ship was endgame. No one could make either of them give up. Liam Carter muttered awkwardly. What about Ethan Johnson then? He's obviously connecting to Victoria Harper. They went on a date together today. The atmosphere was great, Sophia Reynolds declared confidently. It really wasn't that certain. Initially, they thought Ethan Johnson's intentions among the guests were the easiest to guess. Who knew he'd turn out to be the most inscrutable one? Like the previous time, everyone assumed he'd send his DM to Grace Parker or Victoria Harper. But instead, he gave it to Olivia Bennett. There were absolutely no romantic interactions between those two. Calling it adrenaline bonding was less accurate than calling it battle sparks. Nathaniel Ellis saw Sophia Reynolds' forceful demeanor and smiled helplessly. Let's just listen to Sophia. Ethan Johnson gives his DM to Victoria Harper. Nathaniel Ellis, good eye. Sophia Reynolds happily connected the final line. Let's go with this. Since last night, Grace Parker had been feeling unwilling to concede. Seeing Ethan Johnson and Victoria Harper leave together this morning pushed that feeling to its peak. While on her date with Logan Prescott, she couldn't stop thinking about what Ethan Johnson and Victoria Harper were doing. Where would they eat? What would they do? She was completely distracted, growing more agitated the more she thought about it. Compared to Victoria Harper's openness, Grace Parker's personality was more reserved, but that didn't mean she lacked ambition. Her drive was what took her from being an unknown actress to her current status as a movie queen. She had to do something, or she'd truly be handing him over without a fight. On a reality show, every action is recorded by the cameras. Grace Parker had to consider not only Ethan Johnson's preferences, but also the audience's perception and the NDA clauses, which greatly restricted her actions. If she could, she would tell Ethan Johnson, I love you 100 times a day. Grace Parker bought a lot of flowers at the florist today. Every flower has its meaning. Pink roses represent first love. Baby's breath means endless love. Violets symbolize eternity. Red roses are passionate and noble, and lilies symbolize living happily ever after. For Ethan Johnson, she chose sunflowers. I give you sunflowers because you are all my eyes can see. Grace Parker divided the flowers, planning to deliver them one by one. If she gave flowers only to Ethan Johnson, he definitely wouldn't accept them. Since they shared a dorm area, the first person Grace Parker gave flowers to was Victoria Harper, simply wrapped. Victoria Harper glanced at them coolly and said, just put them down. Victoria wasn't stupid. She knew Grace bought the flowers mainly to give them to Ethan Johnson. After leaving the flowers, Grace Parker delivered the rest individually, saving Ethan Johnson for last. She took the carefully arranged bouquet and knocked on Ethan Johnson's door. After a moment, Ethan Johnson opened the door. Seeing her, he raised his eyebrows in surprise. "What's up?" Grace Parker held out the flowers. "For you." Ethan Johnson looked at the flowers in her hand. "For me?" Ethan Johnson could tell at a glance that she had chosen these flowers carefully. Grace Parker said, "Everyone got some. I bought them today to decorate Oak Ridge Retreat a bit. I just picked them randomly. Do you like sunflowers?" "They're okay." Only then did Ethan Johnson reach out and take them. "Thanks." He accepted the sunflowers. Ethan Johnson didn't know much about the language of flowers. Sunflowers were common in flower shops. They probably didn't have any special meaning, right? Grace Parker gave a small wave. "You worked hard today. Sleep well. Good night." Ethan Johnson replied, "You too. Good night." Just as they were exchanging good nights, Victoria Harper slowly walked past, shooting Ethan Johnson a chilling look. That single glance sent a shiver down Ethan Johnson's spine. Seeing the cameraman following Victoria Harper, Grace Parker didn't linger, quickly lowering her head and leaving. As soon as she was gone, Victoria Harper stared at the sunflowers in Ethan Johnson's hand, pouting and saying mockingly, "Do you like sunflowers?" Ethan Johnson. Victoria Harper continued, "You worked hard today, sleep well." Ethan Johnson. Unable to bear it any longer, Ethan Johnson reminded her, "The cameraman is still here." The cameraman poked his head out. "Don't worry, the camera's off." "If it's off, why are you still carrying it?" Ethan Johnson thought. The cameraman moved aside, pretending not to see anything. Victoria Harper crossed her arms, her chin slightly raised. Her face was proud and bold, like a stunning red rose. Although she was noticeably shorter than Ethan Johnson, her aura seemed to tower over him, making her upward gaze feel more like a condescending look from above. In her eyes, Ethan Johnson seemed like a toy in her hands at that moment. "Hand out." "Huh?" Although confused, Ethan Johnson obediently held out his hand. Victoria Harper placed a mobile phone into his palm. "Use your own contacts to reach out. I won't help you. Remember to return the phone when you're done. Also tomorrow. Don't forget what you promised me." Ethan Johnson gripped the phone, staring blankly at Victoria Harper. He opened his mouth, feeling like he should say many things, but only managed a simple, "Thank you." The production crew rules stipulated that guests couldn't bring phones. Victoria Harper had clearly hidden this one. Judging by the phone case, it was clearly one Victoria Harper used often. "Hide it well," Victoria warned. "This is the only phone I kept hidden. If it's found and confiscated, it's gone." "You're giving it to me? What about you? Going without it for 2 or 3 days isn't a big deal." Victoria Harper said this deliberately, though in reality, having a phone or not didn't impact her much. The staff around her were her employees. What information couldn't she get? They stood facing each other quietly for a moment before Ethan Johnson tentatively asked, "Is there anything else?" "No." Victoria Harper glared fiercely at him, then turned to leave. She stopped after just a couple of steps. "Ethan Johnson, did you forget to say something to me?" "Say what?" Victoria Harper's mocking tone returned. "Sleep well, good night." Turns out Victoria Harper could be quite petty about such small things. She hadn't actually left. She was just waiting for him to say good night. The 26-year-old Victoria Harper had a childish side, a stark contrast to her usual demeanor. If the viewers on Twitch saw this side of her, who knows how many fans it would attract. Ethan Johnson replied in a low voice, "Good night." Watched Victoria Harper leave, Ethan turned, went back inside, and closed the door. He picked up his phone and called Samuel Sullivan directly. He explained the situation concisely, but worried he hadn't been clear enough, he also sent a text message with some files attached. In short, there were 2 things. First, sue the people spreading rumors about him online. Second, call the IRS and report the Johnson family for tax evasion. After quickly reviewing the files, Samuel Sullivan said, "I can't believe the ones spreading rumors about you are actually Harper Enterprises. Are they crazy? You already broke off the engagement, and they still won't leave you alone. It was clearly Amelia Harper who wronged you, and now they're spreading rumors that you cheated first. They really resort to any low-down trick imaginable. It makes me scared to even date or get married. Get mixed up in this kind of mess, and the stink never washes off. It's truly disgusting. Can we win a lawsuit? I looked it over. There's plenty of evidence. Shouldn't be a problem. Aren't you filming that reality show? Where did you find time to gather all this? Someone help me. So this phone, is it yours or someone else's?" "It's someone else's too." Samuel Sullivan teased. "Let me guess. It wouldn't happen to be Victoria Harper's, would it?" "Ethan, how did he guess that?" Samuel Sullivan said. "I've been watching your show. You've been interacting with Victoria Harper the most these past few days. I'm practically the captain of her ship now. Stop joking. Do you even know who Victoria Harper is? I know. She's Amelia Harper's younger aunt. If you ask me, she's helped you so much, you might as well just get together with her. That way, Amelia Harper would have to respectfully call you uncle every time she sees you. It'd drive her crazy. Ethan, you can't exploit feelings. Samuel Sullivan. I'm kidding. But Ethan, do you really not have any feelings for Victoria Harper? She likes you so much. She joined the show specifically for you. She doesn't even care about the complications, so why do you? If you ask me, you're just overthinking things. You don't want to end up regretting this later, scrambling to win her back when it's too late. You'll really regret it then. Let's not talk about this. Ethan cut him off. Just help me get these two things taken care of. All right, Samuel Sullivan sighed. I'll handle it for you, and I'll keep an eye on the show's Twitch stream. I'll speak up for you. After saying that, Ethan hung up. This was Victoria Harper's phone. After all, it contained her private information, and Ethan wouldn't pry. Just as he was about to turn it off, a Twitter notification popped up with a trending topic. Hashtag Victoria Harper Ethan. He subconsciously tapped on it. It was filled with abusive comments. Some called him a scumbag, saying he was only dating Victoria Harper to get back at Amelia Harper. Others insulted Victoria Harper. Victoria Harper was being dragged into this entirely because of him. These people online were even more vicious and vile when attacking women, calling her a slut, homewrecker, desperate for male attention. The insults were endless. The online environment women faced was just harsher than that for men. They suffered from prejudice and injustice. Ethan's eyes burned as he read this, his head throbbing. It compelled him to do something. Victoria Harper's sudden coldness towards him the previous night had slightly improved public opinion about her. Netizens said she'd opened her eyes or come to her senses. But that was far from enough. If she was to escape this kind of scrutiny, she would have to at least maintain that coldness towards him consistently. Back in her bedroom, Victoria Harper was in a terrible mood, especially when she saw the flowers glaringly sitting on the table, reminding her of Ethan accepting Grace Parker's bouquet. She scoffed inwardly. He was so final when he rejected me, but he seemed perfectly happy to accept flowers from his first love. The next morning, the flowers on the table had already wilted. Even the most vibrant flowers wilt quickly without proper care. Victoria Harper got up to throw them away. The director saw the flowers in the trash can. Why'd you throw them out? They wilted. They just needed some water. It's too much trouble. I don't like flowers without vitality. The director shook his head, says she doesn't like lifeless flowers, but she'd be thrilled if Ethan gave them to her. Maybe I should arrange for Ethan to buy a bouquet for everyone, like Grace Parker did. We could see Victoria's reaction then, and compare it during editing. Wouldn't that make for great drama? The more the director thought about it, the better the idea seemed. Today's breakfast was made by Olivia Bennett. She couldn't make anything too complicated, so it was oatmeal porridge with boiled eggs. She figured it covered carbs and protein, but lacked fiber. Boiled vegetables dipped in soy sauce would fix that. Perfect. She waited smugly for everyone to try it, especially eager to see Ethan's reaction. So, she stared intently at Ethan as he ate his porridge. So, how's the breakfast I made? Isn't this just plain oatmeal porridge? Could it possibly taste like something else? To encourage the child's enthusiasm, Ethan still offered high praise. Not bad. The consistency of the porridge is just right. He then peeled an egg. The yolk burst out. It hadn't been boiled long enough. The yolk was runny. Olivia Bennett watched, mortified, as the yolk dripped onto Ethan's hand. Her toes curled in embarrassment as she started making excuses. Ethan silently put the egg down, grabbed a napkin, and wiped the yolk off his fingers. As he wiped, he said, "Ah, a soft-boiled egg. You're quite skilled. It's just that these Oak Ridge farm eggs are local farm eggs, so it's probably best to cook them fully. Maybe set a timer for 8 minutes next time." Overall, the breakfast you made today was excellent. If I had to describe it in one word, sophisticated. You have a real knack for using the freshest ingredients to bring out their natural flavors. Olivia Bennett was practically swooning. Turns out I'm an amazing cook. This was my first time making breakfast, and I got such high praise. I must be a genius. Olivia Bennett giggled foolishly. The nearby staff watched, speechless. This silly girl is so easy to fool. The production crew really had Ethan to thank. He had cured Olivia Bennett's princess syndrome. How had they never realized before that all it took was a little appropriate praise to make Olivia Bennett so cooperative and willing to do anything? After breakfast, the director stepped forward familiarly. Christopher asked, "Director, is there a task today too?" Even though they didn't have an official task yesterday, the dates were hardly less exhausting than farm work. Farm work tired the body. It was over in a couple of hours at most. Dating tired the heart, and even after a night's rest, their hearts hadn't quite recovered. The director replied, "Today's main task is to help the local farmers sell their wares." Olivia Bennett complained, "We were exhausted all day yesterday. Can't we have one day off? Besides, it's so hot. Why do we have to help the local farmers sell things? We've never sold anything before. If it comes down to it, can't we just buy everything ourselves?" This lets you experience the lives of local farmers, understand the difficulty of growing food, and it helps project a good image to the audience. Olivia, even though you haven't sold things before, I'm confident that with your talent and beauty, you'll build a great rapport with the local farmers and sell everything out quickly. The director, learning from the master, quickly picked up Ethan's technique. Sure enough, as soon as he said this, Olivia Bennett was the first to step forward. "All right, let's go sell stuff now." The director looked at her, pleased. "Not so fast. Before you go sell, first, take your phones back to your rooms and send a direct message to the person you're interested in for today's match. After you come out, I'll have you draw lots to form teams. You'll be divided into 3 male-female pairs to sell the goods." The director was ruthless, pushing the guests straight into forming teams for tasks right after the DM matches, without even a moment to breathe. The 6 contestants took the phones handed out by the director and retreated to their rooms. They were only given 10 minutes to send their messages, leaving absolutely no time to strategize. The observers, meanwhile, had already fired up the Twitch stream, eager to see the results. As the contestants returned to their rooms one by one, Liam Carter asked, "Should we reconsider? Anyone want to change their predictions?" Sophia Reynolds was firm. "No changes. Stick with what we said." "I thought this wouldn't kick off until evening," Liam mused. "Starting the drama this early. The director really knows how to play the game." In less than 10 minutes, contestants started emerging. Ethan was the first out, followed quickly by Victoria. Then came Christopher Logan and Grace Parker. Olivia Bennett was last, lingering until the full 10 minutes were up. Some looked pleased, others dejected, but Olivia Bennett clearly looked the most miserable. Still, judging purely by their expressions, it was impossible to tell who had messaged whom. Liam Carter spoke up. "Whose messages should we check first?" Nathaniel Ellis suggested, "Let's save the most anticipated for last. How about Christopher's?" Christopher and Logan were easy calls. Just like last time, one message went to Olivia Bennett, the other to Grace Parker. Christopher's message: "I'm sorry yesterday's date wasn't better arranged. Next time, I promise I'll make it up to you." Logan's message: "I like the flowers you sent." Olivia Bennett, also predictably, sent her message to Christopher again, still pretty happy. Grace Parker's focus remained unwavering. Ever since setting her sights on Ethan, she hadn't given up, no matter how much he rejected her or how cold he acted. Her DM to Ethan read, "There's no one else. It's only you." Victoria was another easy guess, consistent as ever. Her message to Ethan: "You really like flowers?" Then came the tricky one. Sophia Reynolds leaned forward nervously, eyes glued to the screen displaying Ethan's sent message. The content was simple, just 2 words: "Thank you." The recipient was Victoria. Sophia Reynolds jumped up, ecstatic. "I knew it. He does have feelings for her. They must have just had a little lover's quarrel last night." She shot a triumphant look at Amelia. "Looks like I proved you wrong again." Sophia toyed with a heart-shaped diamond pendant in her hand. "Amelia, if you'd listened to me this time, we'd both have come up empty." At this rate, she smirked, "Maybe you should start practicing calling my future husband uncle just to get used to it. Wouldn't want you to be tongue-tied when you meet him." "Our family affairs are none of your business," Amelia retorted coolly, though Sophia's words stung. She would never accept Ethan and Victoria. She knew Sophia was deliberately provoking her, trying to embarrass her. Amelia had never endured such humiliation. Born into privilege, always addressed as Lady Harper, she was the sole heiress of Harper Enterprises, doted on by her parents, a princess to her elders. Her friends were sycophants. Her word was law. No one dared contradict her, let alone be as brazenly insolent as Sophia Reynolds. Furthermore, having dealt mostly with a compliant Ethan, Amelia wasn't practiced in arguing. People simply didn't dare argue with her, leaving her frequently speechless against Sophia's barbs. But not knowing how to argue didn't mean she didn't know how to retaliate. With the cloud of Harper Enterprises, dealing with a girl group member like Sophia was simple. What artists feared most was being blacklisted. No appearances, no income, years of hard work ruined. Amelia fixed Sophia with a look of cold disgust. "Go on, talk all you want. Let's see how long you can keep it up." Having navigated Hollywood for years, Sophia Reynolds knew exactly what Amelia was thinking. She wasn't intimidated in the slightest and met the silent threat with a provocative smirk. Offending Amelia Harper held no fear for her. The talent agency she was signed with was a direct rival of Harper Enterprises. Amelia couldn't touch her. And if Amelia did dare to try and blacklist her openly, well, Sophia could always make a huge public spectacle, take it to Twitter, and let the netizens fight for her justice. Later, during a break, Amelia excused herself from the observation lounge. She summoned William, and together in a private lounge, she called Benjamin Harper, her father, putting the call on speaker. "Dad," Amelia began, her voice laced with grievance, "Victoria is blatantly seducing Ethan on this reality show. She knows perfectly well he's my ex-fiancé. We just broke off the engagement, and she's acting like this. It feels like she has no respect for me at all. Her behavior reflects badly on the Harper family and Harper Enterprises." She pressed on, "Can you talk to Uncle? Make him manage Victoria properly. Lock her up if necessary? She's doing this in front of millions of viewers. It's humiliating. She's deliberately trying to spite us." Benjamin Harper couldn't possibly have been unaware of the drama surrounding Victoria. Did Amelia think he hadn't already contacted the branch of the Harper family Victoria belonged to? They wanted to control her, but they couldn't. Victoria had broken free from their influence years ago. "I'll find a way to handle the Victoria situation. Don't worry about that," Benjamin Harper replied, his voice sounding weak and tired over the phone. "But you, Amelia, you need to keep a lower profile for a while. How many times have I told you? Focus on managing the Johnson family trust and preparing to inherit the company. Stop wasting time and energy on unimportant things like this show. You should leave it sooner rather than later. And as for you and William." He paused, his voice hardening slightly. "Break it off." Benjamin had been incredibly busy lately, dealing with the fallout from teaching Ethan a lesson. Several smaller companies under the Harper umbrella had suddenly faced various problems, requiring his personal attention. The financial losses weren't crippling, but the hassle was immense, leaving him exhausted. William, standing beside Amelia, heard every word clearly. His hands clenched involuntarily as he fought to maintain his composure. Benjamin Harper had always looked down on him. His background wasn't prestigious enough, his education wasn't top tier, he offered no strategic value. To a pragmatic businessman like Benjamin, people without tangible value were essentially disposable. As long as Benjamin disapproved, it didn't matter how much Amelia liked William. If Benjamin hadn't forced him out previously, he and Amelia might already be married. "Dad," Amelia said quickly, changing the subject, "I wanted to discuss something. Doesn't the Johnson family want to maintain a cooperative relationship with us? Well, since they've kicked Ethan out, and Aunt Margaret is too old to easily have another child, they won't have an heir when they pass away. Why don't we suggest they formally adopt William? Recognize him as their son." William's eyes widened in disbelief. Amelia had never mentioned this possibility. Surprise warred with a sudden, intense thrill. The Johnson family wasn't insignificant. They possessed status and wealth. Otherwise, Benjamin wouldn't have sought a marriage alliance with them in the first place. If he could officially become a Johnson, he wouldn't have to languish as a minor actor. He'd inherit their fortune, secure his status, and finally earn Benjamin Harper's respect. He could marry Amelia without any obstacles. Perhaps, down the line, he could even control the combined wealth of both the Johnson family and Harper Enterprises, becoming the most powerful man in Rosewood City. The more William considered it, the more excited he grew. He wasn't inferior to Ethan. Ethan had just been born luckier, landing the right family by chance. Since Ethan had been foolish enough to get disowned, William taking his place felt almost like justice. Ethan only had himself to blame for not appreciating what he had. William's feelings for Amelia weren't so much affection as they were a profound obsession, as if only by being with her could he gain the acceptance and respect of those around him. William envied Ethan. He wanted everything Ethan had. More than once, he'd wondered what it would be like to be born into the Johnson family. He'd have power, status, and immense wealth. He wouldn't be looked down upon, wouldn't suffer beatings and verbal abuse, and certainly wouldn't have been shipped off overseas just because of a word from Benjamin Harper. Sent to a place where he didn't speak the language, the environment was alien, and he had no freedom. If he became the Johnson family heir, all of that would be within reach. Desire burned fiercely within him, threatening to burst from his chest. William listened nervously. If Benjamin Harper agreed, his chances of entering the Johnson family were secured. Benjamin Harper was a man of the world, yet even he was stunned by Amelia's proposal. Give away your own son's place to an outsider? What are you thinking? No matter how reckless Ethan is, he's still Richard Johnson's biological son. He's young now. Cutting ties is just a temporary phase. No one can guarantee what will happen in the future. Only you would take it seriously. Benjamin didn't believe Ethan would stay away from the Johnson family forever, nor did he believe Richard Johnson would refuse to acknowledge his son until his dying day. Who knew? Maybe one day he'd suddenly come around. How had Amelia even come up with this idea? It traced back to the day after Ethan broke off their engagement. Their meeting that day had been extremely unpleasant. To persuade her, Ethan had said, "If you absolutely must marry into the Johnson family, I have a great idea. Have them adopt William. Then you two can be together legitimately, discussing not just feelings but benefits too." At the time, she thought Ethan was just lashing out in anger. Her thinking mirrored most people's. Why give up being a perfectly good rich heir to become an ordinary person? Once you shed the identity of the wealthy, all the excellent resources you enjoy will be replaced. Ethan had spoken with such conviction, looking like he'd never turn back, but in reality, she expected him to crawl back within days. He reminded her of a kindergartner throwing a tantrum and threatening to run away, only to look back right after leaving the house. Utterly laughable. Everyone in Hollywood was waiting to see Ethan make a fool of himself, herself included. But she waited and waited, growing impatient, then furious, then numb. Yet Ethan never came back. Instead, she watched him flirt with her own aunt in front of a national audience. She would never let Ethan reach the day he could become her uncle. "Dad, I know Ethan. He won't go back to the Johnson family." "How well can you possibly know him? How long have you even known each other?" "Not even 5 years. If you really knew him, why didn't you foresee him insisting on breaking the engagement?" Benjamin Harper couldn't help but scoff at Amelia's fanciful idea. Still, she was his daughter, so he didn't make his words too harsh. Amelia's face flushed, then paled. "It's precisely because of that incident that I understand him completely now. Once he decides something, he never looks back. That severance document he prepared for his parents already burned his bridges." Severance document? Sounds nice, but he has Richard Johnson's blood flowing in his veins. He's still named Johnson. The Johnson family spent money raising him. Can a single piece of paper really sever all that? Even the law wouldn't recognize it. Don't talk such nonsense to me. I know you're thinking about William, but you need to be realistic. Don't forget why Ethan broke off the engagement with you in the first place. It was because you ran off to be with William. To put it bluntly, William caused it. If it weren't for William, would Ethan have broken the engagement? Would Richard have cut ties with his own son? And now you want to send the main culprit over there? Believe me, William wouldn't even make it through the door before being beaten to death. Hearing this, William's face turned ashen too. His earlier excitement turned into stagnant dread. Benjamin Harper had a point. Amelia was the one being naive. If the Johnson family didn't even want their own son, why would they want him, someone arriving halfway through? Dad, Amelia became anxious. "Let me be clear then. I can only be with William in this life. I won't follow your arrangements. The only person I can marry is William. If you try to send William abroad again like before, I'll go with him. If you force me into an arranged marriage, I'll present you with a grandchild ahead of schedule." Honestly, after all these years, foolish and absurd, his daughter, raised with such care, was being utterly unreasonable. Benjamin Harper's blood pressure spiked. His shaky voice and heavy breathing came through the phone. Amelia bit her lip, steeling herself. "Dad, let's each take a step back. Figure out a way for William to enter the Johnson family. Let him build a good relationship with Ethan's parents. It's just to have his name associated with the Johnson family, without interfering with the Johnson family trust. I think the Johnsons might agree. Unlike Harper Enterprises, they don't have many relatives. Their family ties are thin. In all the years I was with Ethan, I barely met any." The sound of someone drinking water came through the phone. Benjamin Harper remained silent. Amelia knew this couldn't be rushed. She had to give Benjamin time to process it. Benjamin Harper thought for a long time, finally sighing in resignation. He had spoiled Amelia for over 20 years. It had become a habit. "I can arrange for William to enter the Johnson family, and I can create opportunities for him to get close to Margaret. But whether he can seize them is up to him. Once he's in the Johnson family, his fate is his own. I won't interfere, nor will I provide help." He couldn't exactly hold a knife to Richard Johnson's throat and force him to acknowledge this convenient son, let alone give him money. Where in the world could such an outrageous thing happen? My word alone isn't enough. You also need to ask William if he's willing to bear the consequences. His status entering the Johnson family is very awkward. If he gets beaten up, I can't save him. That Benjamin Harper had relented was already an unexpected joy. Amelia looked at William, asking him with only her eyes. William immediately spoke up. Uncle Hayes, I'm willing. As long as I'm given this chance, I will definitely grasp it firmly. As the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Who could predict the future? What if William really did inherit the Johnson family trust? Then Harper Enterprises could absorb. In any case, William joining the Johnson family wasn't necessarily a bad thing. With status and position, if he could even snag some Johnson family shares, making him a Harper family son-in-law wouldn't be out of the question. Dad, thank you. Amelia, don't do things you shouldn't. You're grown up now. It's time to be obedient and sensible. Grandchildren can only be made after the engagement is finalized. Do you hear me? Amelia quickly said she heard him. The rather unpleasant call ended. After hanging up, Amelia looked apologetic. Sorry, I didn't discuss it with you beforehand. You were doing it for my own good. William had managed to thrive in the entertainment industry largely thanks to his pleasing looks. Richard Johnson might be a tough sell, but Ethan's mother, Margaret Johnson, should be easy enough to handle. Ethan, William thought, you wanted so badly to break away from the Johnson family? Then I'll help you cut ties completely, reducing you thoroughly to an ordinary person with nothing. Without the halo of a rich heir, what makes you think you can be with Victoria? I want you to watch as your status and position are replaced, as everything you once possessed is snatched away by someone else. The only change in this round of crush text was Ethan. Last time, he sent his signal to Olivia Bennet, but this time he sent it to Victoria Harper. Logan once again received no signals, dealing a severe blow to his confidence. He'd woken up in high spirits this morning, but now his whole day was ruined. He still had to go out on a task to sell goods later. How could he possibly sell anything in this state? Christopher received Olivia Bennet's crush text and breathed a huge sigh of relief. He thought he'd completely messed up yesterday's date. Grace Parker received Logan's signal. She knew with a glance it wasn't from Ethan. Clutching her phone tightly, she kept waiting until she heard the notification chime from Victoria Harper's phone. In that instant, the blood drained from her face. Ethan sent Victoria Harper a crush signal. Victoria Harper let out a soft laugh, the corners of her mouth lifting. She looked at her phone quietly for a moment before getting up to go outside. Grace Parker, behind her, called out, "Was that message from Ethan?" Victoria Harper found it amusing. Who else could it be? What did he send you? Why should I tell you? Grace Parker was genuinely panicking, daring to ask such a direct question right in front of the cameras. She immediately realized she'd misspoken. Acting too desperate and calculating would leave a bad impression on the viewers and could also cause trouble for Ethan. At this thought, her face turned pale, and she lowered her head, silently composing herself. When Victoria Harper went out, Ethan was already standing in the yard. The director asked him to draw lots. There were 3 balls in the box. He casually opened one and looked inside. A slip of paper read, "Watermelon." His task for the day was to help community workers sell watermelons. Victoria Harper wanted to be in his group, which meant she had to draw a watermelon. She was never lucky with draws, notoriously so. She pulled out a ball, vegetables. Not getting paired with Ethan put Victoria Harper in a bad mood. The person assigned to her group was Logan. Facing Victoria Harper, Logan felt inexplicably intimidated. He walked over and gave an awkward smile, happy to cooperate. Grace Parker came out too and drew eggs. Victoria Harper's sharp eyes caught it, meaning the last one out, Olivia Bennet, would be tasked with Ethan today. Victoria Harper glared at the last ball remaining in the box. If only she'd come out later. Now Olivia Bennet had lucked out. Still, compared to Grace Parker, the clueless Olivia Bennet was easier on the eyes. Olivia Bennet was the last one out. Why last? Because she was waiting for messages. Last time she received 2 texts. This time, she wanted to see if she'd get 2 again. But she waited, and nothing came from Ethan. Ethan finally hadn't lost his mind and sent her text. She should have been relieved, but for some reason, she felt an emptiness inside. When she came out, everyone was waiting for her. She picked up the last ball and opened it. Watermelon? What's that? The director explained, "Watermelon means you and Ethan will be selling watermelons together today." Huh? She quickly looked towards Ethan. Me? Selling watermelons with him? Director, do you have an objection? Olivia Bennet shook her head. No objection. The emptiness in her heart felt as if it had been filled by a small piece of cake. She tilted her chin up, walked over to Ethan, and crossed her arms. Let's get this straight. I'm only paired with you because of the show's rules, not because I want to be. When we're selling watermelons, stay away from me, don't talk to me, and don't drag me down. She glanced at the nearest camera, thinking inwardly that she needed to make things clear to avoid any misunderstanding with Amelia Harper. It was just that her attitude felt suspiciously like a classic case of protesting too much. Ethan simply took it as her disliking him. a situation he was more than happy with. Don't worry, I won't bother you. Victoria Harper, overhearing their conversation, sauntered over. She leaned closer to Olivia Bennet. You dislike Ethan so much and don't want me grouped with him. How about we switch? In your dreams. I won't let you have your way. Don't forget you're Amelia Harper's aunt. What does it look like for you to be sticking so close to Ethan all the time? Olivia Bennet retorted quickly after a brief pause. Besides, the director said it was decided by drawing lots. Those are the rules. They can't be changed just for you. Switching whenever you feel like it? Do you think this is your house? The director stepped forward. Indeed, you cannot switch. Victoria Harper shot him a cold glare in response. The director quickly turned his back, pretending not to see. The group got into vehicles and set off separately for their tasks. Looking at the large truck full of watermelons, Olivia Bennet was dumbfounded. Director, do we have to sell this entire truckload? Yes. Ow! Take it to the farmer's market to sell, or sell it on the roadside. Sell it however you want. Can we sell via Twitch streaming then? No. Watermelon prices are already low in the summer. You can buy them anywhere. They aren't exactly rare. If you sell via Twitch stream, the shipping costs would practically equal the price of the watermelon itself. Plus, they spoil easily during transit. Olivia Bennet's initial idea of selling goods involved Twitch streaming. She hadn't expected it to be like hawking wares on the street like a vendor. She knew it. Nothing good ever happened in Oak Ridge community. And the director, always coming up with random, troublesome ideas, full of mischief, just loved to torment people. I've only ever bought watermelons, never sold them. How am I supposed to sell this many? Olivia Bennet felt her temper rising again, and the audience in the Twitch chat was likely waiting for her outburst too. The director knew she was the most difficult one and was pondering how to handle her when Ethan spoke up beside him. A mature and independent woman, like you must be well-liked wherever you go, right? And you're so beautiful. Everyone loves you. Selling some watermelons should be a piece of cake. I believe just by standing here, you're a walking advertisement. You're this year's #1 watermelon spokesperson. Olivia Bennet didn't react much after hearing this. Instead, she silently opened the truck door and got in. A moment later, her small head popped out of the window. Let's go. Time to sell some melons. Still easily swayed as always. Olivia Bennet's compliance significantly lowered the difficulty of the task. Ethan got into the driver's seat and drove towards the farmer's market. His plan was to drive a stretch, stop and sell, then continue, hoping to sell off the entire load on the road from one Maplewood Township area to another. For this, Ethan had even prepared a loudspeaker recording. Get your watermelon. Get your watermelon. Come get your watermelon. Watermelon prices are dropping like crazy. Watermelons are practically jumping off the truck. Hey, Mommy, I want watermelon, big watermelon. Buy it. Big sweet melons. Buy them to make popsicles, drinks, jelly, ice cream. No additives, safer for the kids. The Twitch chat audience burst out laughing. Ethan is so creative, even I suddenly want to buy a watermelon. Exactly. Why can't they sell via Twitch stream? I want watermelon too. I want to buy one. My first watermelon craving of the day. Going downstairs to buy one right now. You guys are still thinking about buying melons here? Didn't you hear the watermelons are jumping off the truck? Someone go save the watermelons. The teams are all messed up for this task. My favorite ship got split up just like that. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like Olivia Bennet seems happier with Ethan. She talks more. Her expression is relaxed. Compared to her date yesterday, she looks much more natural. Olivia Bennet's attitude towards Christopher wasn't like this at all. She was always cold towards Christopher, looking annoyed with a stern face. No idea how the shippers even make that pairing work. Even if Olivia Bennet doesn't like Christopher, she won't like Ethan either. She hates him so much. They drove towards Maplewood Township, and while quite a few people stopped to buy watermelons along the way, it wasn't nearly enough to sell out the entire truckload. Although Olivia Bennet had agreed to put in a real effort selling watermelons with Ethan, she was still reluctant to interact with strangers. Ethan didn't push her, leaving them to divide the labor. He handled the sales pitch while she took the money. Word came from the production crew that Grace Parker's team was the first to sell out. As an award-winning actress with widespread fame, Grace Parker had fans everywhere. Selling eggs was a breeze for her. She even threw in autographs for fans, drawing long lines to her stall. They packed up well before noon. Next up was Victoria. She and Logan weren't getting along, so they decided to split up their vegetables. Logan went to the Maplewood Township Farmers Market, while Victoria drove to the main Maplewood Township area, which had more foot traffic. Victoria chose the main township because she'd heard Ethan was heading there too. The vegetables, freshly picked by the villagers early that morning, were starting to wilt in the intense heat. Victoria noticed the other vendors had watering cans to keep their produce fresh, so she got one for herself too. Victoria proved to be a natural salesperson. She wrote the prices on a sign, stood up, and called out to the crowd, quickly drawing a lot of attention. Her stunning looks were certainly an advantage. Who wouldn't want to buy vegetables from a beautiful woman? Combined with the buzz generated by the production crew, many people recognized her and flocked to her stall. The production crew had provided Victoria with a digital scale, not an old-fashioned mechanical one. Watching her expertly weigh the vegetables and calculate the cost, the viewers in the Twitch chat were amazed. Whoa, Victoria knows how to use a digital scale? What doesn't she know? Did she secretly practice with the community workers when we weren't looking? Can someone explain why Victoria, a pampered heiress, knows how to do this? I've read online that some rich kids can't even tell different vegetables apart. This can't be Victoria's first time selling produce. She's way more skilled than the other guests. Only Ethan seems to be on her level. It's weird, right? Both Ethan and Victoria come from wealthy families, but they're naturals at both farming and selling. Meanwhile, Christopher keeps bragging about growing up on Oak Ridge Farm, but he's useless at everything. I thought today would be his chance to shine, but Grace Parker basically sold all the eggs for him, and he even managed to break a few. Christopher has 3 older sisters. Maybe he grew up with authoritarian parents? As soon as she sold out, Victoria immediately asked about Ethan. Selling watermelons wasn't going as well as selling vegetables. There was a bumper crop of watermelons this year, meaning many farmers couldn't sell their stock, leaving melons to rot in the fields. For Ethan to have sold half his load already was actually quite impressive. Olivia Bennett was getting antsy. When are we going to be done? It's so hot. They stood in the shade, both drenched in sweat despite the small handheld fans they clutched, which offered little relief. Ethan noticed Olivia Bennett's makeup starting to run. If you're too tired, he suggested, why don't you find a bubble tea shop and take a break? Normally, Olivia Bennett wouldn't have needed telling twice, but today she wanted to prove herself. No, Olivia Bennett sniffed haughtily. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm not staying because I want to hang out with you. It's the production crew's rule. We have to sell everything before we can rest. Besides, she added, lifting her chin, without me as your human billboard, you probably wouldn't sell a single one. Seeing her typical sunner pout, Ethan didn't argue, just played along with a chuckle. Right, you're absolutely essential. I'm lucky to have you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have sold a single watermelon today. Selling this many and making all this money, it's all thanks to you. Olivia Bennett's cheeks flushed. It's definitely just the heat, she told herself. At noon, a crew member reminded them to take a lunch break. Ethan told Olivia Bennett to go ahead and eat first, asking her to just bring him back some takeout. Olivia Bennett was hungry, so she didn't argue. Not long after she left, Ethan spotted Victoria approaching. What are you doing here? Ethan asked. Selling vegetables, Victoria replied coolly. Where are they? Sold out. Ethan glanced at her, envious, then looked back at his still more than half-full truck of watermelons, wondering how long it would take him. So why haven't you gone back yet? Ethan asked. Victoria let out a cold laugh, but didn't sidle up to him as she usually might. Instead, she circled the watermelon truck, patting a few of the melons and fiddling with a megaphone resting inside. So, you really like flowers? She asked, repeating the question from her DM earlier that morning. Ethan had immediately detected the passive-aggressive tone in those few words. Clearly, she was still stewing over Grace Parker giving him flowers the previous night. They're all right, Ethan replied evasively. Victoria scoffed again, then pulled a card from her pocket and held it out to him. Since you like flowers so much, I'll give you some too. What do you mean? Ethan looked down. It was clearly a platinum card. What flowers? Victoria leaned closer, pinching the platinum card between her fingers and tapping it against Ethan's chest. This, she said pointedly with each tap, is my kind of flower. The kind you can spend. Wasn't this kind of flower better than the one Grace Parker gave him? More practical, too. Who wouldn't like it? Yet Ethan recoiled, dodging the card. I don't want it. Victoria's smirk faded as she met Ethan's serious gaze. He genuinely didn't want it. She couldn't help wondering if his overly earnest nature made him think she was trying to become his sugar mama. If only she could just buy his affection, she thought wryly. It would save her the trouble of trying to seduce him, something she wasn't naturally good at. She'd practiced, done her research, and psych herself up just to make a move, but unfortunately, it had absolutely no effect on Ethan, that clueless, romantically dense blockhead. Ethan breathed a sigh of relief as Victoria finally put the platinum card away. He reminded her quietly, don't forget the cameras are rolling right next to you. Watch what you say and do. The mics are off. Victoria dismissed his concern. No one heard, and they're too far away to get a clear shot of anything. Or were they? OMG, Victoria came all the way here just for Ethan. Looks like she really can't get over him. Feels like Victoria is being way colder to Ethan now. Did they have a fight? Can we get a lip reader in here? I need to know what Victoria said to Ethan. He looks kind of bashful, lol. Did Victoria just pull out a card? Don't tell me it was a platinum card. Since when are platinum cards silver? It was probably just a regular credit card. Victoria probably doesn't even qualify for a platinum card, right? Those things are super exclusive, reserved for billionaires. Since when is she that rich? Why do they cut the audio? What secrets are they hiding from us? Queen Victoria, adopt me please. I want to join this family drama. Faced with tears of joy, Victoria asked, how long do you think it'll take to sell this whole truckload? Ethan honestly had no idea. Victoria turned to a nearby crew member. Is there a penalty if we don't sell everything? No, the crew member replied. Director Miller just said to do your best. Well, if there's no penalty, let's just head back, Victoria suggested. You haven't eaten yet, and it's scorching hot out here. I'm worried you'll get heat stroke. Ethan did feel a bit dizzy. He took a sip of water. I'll head back later, he said. I want to sell as much as I can first, help lighten the load for the community workers. Hearing his reason, Victoria didn't press him further. Just then, Olivia Bennett returned. Usually, she took forever to eat, but today she was back surprisingly quickly. Less than 20 minutes had passed. Olivia Bennett walked up carrying takeout boxes. The moment she saw Victoria standing next to Ethan, a surge of hostility washed over her. What are you doing here? Seeing the hostility on Olivia Bennett's face, Victoria Harper almost thought she'd finally caught on. She casually picked up a watermelon and patted it. Buying watermelon. I want this one, wrap it up for me. Really just here to buy a watermelon? Victoria Harper paid and picked up the watermelon. I'm heading back. I'll wait for you at home. The way she said it, anyone who didn't know better might think they were a couple. Olivia Bennett felt inexplicably stifled. If the cameraman wasn't still there, she would have told Victoria Harper off right then and there. Only after Victoria Harper was far away did Olivia Bennett turn back and shoot Ethan a glare. Ethan, caught in the glare. Why was she looking at him like that? Had he done something wrong? Olivia Bennett held up the lunchbox. Here, thanks. Ethan opened it to find 2 meat dishes, 1 vegetable dish, and soup. All his favorites. Did you send your DM matches to Victoria Harper? The director banned discussion on this topic. She listened to the director when she felt like it and ignored him when she didn't. Olivia Bennett played by her own rules. So she asked again, then why did you send me that text last time? How did you know it was me? Only you would send something so cheesy. Praising me. Olivia Bennett looked away awkwardly. Why did you send me the interest text? Do you even know what that implies? When the audience sees it, and Amelia, I don't want her to get the wrong idea. Olivia sat on a low stool, her back to Ethan, resting her chin in her hands. Ethan paused, then decided to tell the truth. Sorry, I wasn't thinking too hard about it. I only sent it because I figured you wouldn't pick me anyway. If you're worried about misunderstandings, I won't do it again. Hearing the truth, Olivia Bennett's heart skipped a beat. She whipped her head around. Just because you thought I wouldn't choose you, you sent it to me? What if I? What if what? Nothing. Olivia Bennett stood up, looking down at Ethan. I'm warning you. Stay away from Victoria Harper. She's Amelia Harper's aunt. It's impossible between you two. Don't be fooled just because she's nice to you. She's just playing with you. A woman like her has seen every kind of man. I suggest you know your place. Ethan's head spun, his chest felt tight, large beads of sweat dripped down, and the hand holding the lunchbox was trembling. He was in no mood to listen to Olivia Bennett. Her voice just felt grating. Who I'm with is none of your business. If you get together with Victoria Harper, the netizens will tear you apart. Seeing Ethan wasn't listening, Olivia Bennett snapped irritably. Neither Harper Enterprises nor the Harper family will approve. You'll be the one losing face in the end. Besides, Amelia, she won't be happy either. Ethan said, I get flamed online even when I do nothing. Besides, it's my face to lose. Why do you care? Even Amelia Harper doesn't care. How could Amelia Harper not care? If she really didn't care, she wouldn't have called to warn her. Olivia Bennett was exasperated. She was just looking out for him. Why was he so ungrateful? Whatever else Olivia Bennett said afterward, it all revolved around Amelia. Ethan couldn't absorb any of it. It was like flies buzzing incessantly in his ears. He stood up, wanted to find somewhere else to eat. Unexpectedly, as he stood up, his legs gave out. Ethan lost control and stumbled backward, collapsing onto the ground. In an instant, his chest tightened. He felt short of breath, dizzy, and spots danced before his eyes. Overwhelming darkness threatened to swallow his consciousness. His sudden fall startled Olivia Bennet. "Ethan, what's wrong? Don't scare me. Why did you suddenly collapse?" Ethan touched his cold forehead, thinking. It seems Olivia Bennet was genuinely frightened. Her voice was trembling. After sitting for a moment, Ethan recovered slightly and said breathlessly, "I think I have heat stroke and low blood sugar." Hearing low blood sugar, Olivia Bennet immediately picked up a watermelon, smashed it on the ground, grabbed a piece, and stuffed it into his mouth. "Eat some quickly." Olivia Bennet helped him to a shady spot, got a bottle of mineral water, wet a cloth to place on his face, and aimed a small fan at him. "Feeling any better?" Seeing Ethan's pale face, Olivia Bennet stood up. "Wait here a second. There's a pharmacy nearby. I'll be right back." Olivia Bennet hurried off and ran back quickly, carrying a bunch of medicine. After drinking a small bottle of glucose solution, strength gradually returned to Ethan's weak limbs, and his rapid breathing began to normalize. Still worried, Olivia Bennet had him take some oral rehydration salts and drink a small bottle of peppermint oil capsules. Seeing the color return to Ethan's pale face, Olivia Bennet's tense nerves finally relaxed. She suddenly realized she was drenched in sweat, unsure if it was from the heat or the scare. "I also bought cooling patches. Take off your shirt and put these under your arms." Ethan removed the wet cloth from his face. "No need, I'm fine now." Ethan had been plagued by illness in his past life. There's a saying that some people are just predisposed to certain conditions, regardless of lifestyle. Like his stomach cancer meant his stomach function was weak. Other illnesses were the same. Today's sudden heat stroke and hypoglycemia served as a wake-up call. If Olivia Bennet hadn't been there, he would have been in danger. It seemed he'd have to be more careful in the future. After all, it was his own body. "Thanks. I didn't expect you to know so much." Olivia Bennet's actions just now went beyond his preconceived notions of her. She had acted calmly and methodically, using the quickest methods to alleviate the heat stroke. "Back when I was touring with my girl group, we performed in weather hotter than this. People often dealt with low blood sugar and heat stroke. For someone like you, it's best to carry some candy and make sure you eat your meals on time every day." Ethan had knocked over the lunchbox earlier. They need to buy another one. But looking at Ethan's condition, she couldn't bear to leave him alone. Ethan slowly got up and picked up the dropped lunchbox from the ground. "What are you doing?" "It spilled." "It's not dirty. It was in a plastic bag. It's still edible." The lunchbox was still warm. Ethan poured the rice from the bag back into the container and started eating. A little dirt won't hurt. Watching him, Olivia Bennet felt a slight tug at her heart. Just then, a few people approached, wanting to buy watermelons. Ethan had just started to get up when Olivia Bennet pushed him back down. "You just rest. I'll sell the watermelons." Ethan didn't speak, but his eyes asked, "Can you handle it?" Olivia Bennet put her hands on her hips, looking fierce. "Don't get the wrong idea. I'm not worried about you. I'm just afraid you'll collapse and drag me down. Then the money from selling watermelons won't even be enough to cover your medicine." Her words were harsh, but anyone who knew her understood it was her way of showing concern. Ethan chuckled lightly. "All right, I won't misunderstand. I'll leave it to you then, spokesperson." Olivia Bennet was awkward at first, but more and more people started arriving to buy watermelons, eventually forming a line. The watermelons, originally sold by weight, ended up being sold individually for 15 yuan each. The customers automatically grabbed plastic bags, picked their watermelons, bagged them, and then scanned the code to pay, as if they'd been trained. More than half the cartload of watermelon sold out in just half an hour. Olivia Bennet looked at the empty cart, her face beaming with pride. "See? It takes the official spokesperson to get things done. Look how quickly I sold the whole cart." Had this cartload really just sold out naturally? There was nobody around before. How could a crowd suddenly appear, lining up to buy? Ethan gazed in the direction Victoria Harper had left, instinctively feeling she was involved. And indeed, Victoria Harper was involved. After leaving, she had found an ATM, withdrawn cash, and paid passersby cash to go buy watermelons from Ethan's cart, who had turned down free money and a free watermelon. A staff member quietly turned off the camera, wiping sweat from his brow, and said, "Boss, this is against the rules." I felt like it. Since you know I'm the boss, you should know the boss's rules are the rules. After selling the watermelons, the two high-fived. In that moment, Olivia Bennet completely let go of her dislike for Ethan. She danced around Ethan excitedly. "Great, we finally sold them all. Let's head back quickly." Throughout the whole process, only Olivia Bennet remained clueless. Even the viewers in the live stream chat had noticed something was off. Olivia Bennet is so clueless, LOL. They barely sold any at the farmer's market this morning with all those people around. How could so many customers suddenly show up? Does she really think she sold them all with her looks and hard work? It was obviously staged by the production crew. Olivia Bennet. What a lovable ditz. Didn't like her at first, but she's growing on me. So cute. I actually like her dynamic with Ethan. Much better than with Christopher. They look good together. Isn't Olivia Bennet Amelia Harper's BFF? If Olivia falls for Ethan, besties become rivals. Can't wait. Olivia Bennet is such a tsundere around Ethan. Putting aside whether Ethan's a simp, their dynamic and ages actually match really well. Ethan's not a simp. Latest news, someone leaked info that Harper Enterprises deliberately smeared him. The Metropolitan Police Department is involved now, and Ethan hired lawyers to sue a bunch of the rumor mongers. If Ethan really isn't a simp, then Victoria Harper and Ethan are a better match. After selling all their watermelons, the two headed home. Olivia Bennet was in a good mood, a rare occurrence where she was pleasant towards Ethan. Once in the car, she even remembered to ask about his well-being. Ethan, is your head still spinning? Are you feeling unwell anywhere? Don't push yourself to drive. It'd be one thing if you just killed yourself, but dragging someone else down with you. Olivia Bennet wasn't good at showing concern. Her attempts often came out twisted and harsh, and she had a penchant for saying the opposite of what she meant. Still, what Olivia Bennet said held a kernel of truth. Ethan replied, I'm perfectly fine. Heart rate normal, breathing steady, no dizziness or blurred vision, plenty of energy, and a clear head. If you're really that worried, you could drive. I don't know how to drive. On the way back, Olivia Bennet couldn't help stealing glances at him, quickly pretending to gaze into the distance whenever she thought he might notice. Being with Ethan wasn't as annoying as she'd imagined. It actually felt reassuring. She found herself observing his every move, noticing the little details. She realized Ethan had a face that could rival any movie star's. His eyelashes were incredibly long, long enough to balance a toothpick on. She mused, longer than hers even. She felt a pang of envy. Looking closer, his skin was fair and seemed flawless, almost poreless, with a clean nose. He didn't smoke. There was no stale cigarette smell about him, just a faint, clean scent of laundry detergent. Even when he sweated, it wasn't unpleasant. Victoria Harper had cut his hair, and she'd done a decent job, Olivia conceded. Though if she had done it, it would definitely be better. Ethan looked lean and tall, but he was surprisingly heavy. When he'd had heat stroke earlier, helping him sit down had nearly thrown out her back. Ethan's hands were nice too, especially when he steered with one hand. She remembered seeing something online once about the most attractive things men do, and one of them was reversing a car with one hand. She thought it sounded cheesy back then, but seeing Ethan do it now, she realized it wasn't the action itself, but the person. Good-looking people made everything look good. Ethan could clearly feel Olivia Bennet sneaking glances at him, different from her usual disdainful looks. What are you looking at? I wasn't. Olivia Bennet instinctively started to deny it, but then thought, he already caught me. Denying it will just make me look guilty. So she immediately snapped defensively. So what if I was looking? Is there a rule against it? If you ignored her flushed cheeks and ears, it might have even sounded convincing. You can look all you want. Olivia Bennet averted her gaze uncomfortably, looking at the rearview mirror. Are you with Victoria Harper just to get back at Amelia? Setting aside whether I want revenge on Amelia Harper or not, let me ask you this. When did Victoria Harper and I get together? I saw you two together with my own eyes. You went on a date, you gave her the DM matches, and today, she came looking specifically for you. She refused to believe there wasn't something fishy going on between them. The date was mandated by the production crew's rules. Besides, I originally drew your name in the lottery. Does going on a date with you mean I like you, or that you like me? Also, don't forget, this is a dating show. Do you even understand what that entails? You say I'm getting revenge on Amelia Harper. Revenge needs a reason, right? Am I getting revenge for her leaving me at the altar in front of everyone, or for Harper Enterprises deliberately smearing my name recently, spreading rumors online that I cheated? Olivia Bennet froze, staring at him in shock. The online stuff. You know about it. So Olivia Bennet knew too, maybe even earlier than he did. Perhaps the others had heard as well. A sarcastic expression touched Ethan's lips. Deep down, you also think the Harper family was in the wrong from the start, don't you? Otherwise, why would you even consider the idea that I'd seek revenge against Amelia? Am I right? Olivia Bennet wanted to argue, but she opened her mouth and found her throat tight, unable to utter a single word. She could only look at him, mortified. I wouldn't drag another innocent woman into this just to get revenge on someone else. In my eyes, women aren't accessories or spoils of war. If I wanted revenge on Amelia Harper, I certainly wouldn't use such despicable methods. After a moment of silence, Olivia Bennet asked, Do you still love Amelia Harper? No. But you loved her for so long back then. You were so good to her. You said it yourself. Back then, people change. Put yourself in my shoes. You spend all your effort trying to please someone, you're about to get married, and then they ditch you midway, leaving you alone at the wedding reception to face everyone's judgment and humiliation. How would you react? She didn't need to think. She'd be furious, ready to slap the jerk across the face. Certain events reveal people's true colors, but you only truly understand when it happens to you. It was Amelia Harper whose feelings changed first. What right did Olivia have to blame Ethan for suddenly leaving? If Amelia hadn't let go first, why would Ethan have left? It was such a simple concept. Why had it taken her so long to grasp it? Amelia Harper blamed Ethan for calling off the wedding, for joining the dating show, for being so undignified. But wasn't she the one who hadn't shown any dignity? If Ethan had been the one to run off, would Amelia Harper have remained rational and composed? The answer was obvious. No. Even when she was wrong, she never thought she was. Reality proved that Amelia Harper would put Ethan down just to make herself feel superior. They drove the rest of the way in silence. Olivia Bennett's already wavering conviction began to crumble. She carefully recalled her years of friendship with Amelia Harper. Hadn't that been a form of exploitation too? They arrived back at Oak Ridge Retreat without incident. All the other contestants were already there. The director announced that the task was successfully completed. He acknowledged the challenge had been tough on the contestants, so there would be no penalty, even for those who hadn't sold all their goods. No penalty, but there was a reward. The team that finished the task first would receive a date card. This card allowed the holder to invite a person of their choice on the next date, and the invitee could not refuse. Grace Parker was stunned speechless, hit by the unexpected surprise. She looked bewildered, almost doubting reality. When finally sank in, her first instinct was to look straight at Ethan. Her teammate, Christopher Foster, having lucked into the reward as well, turned an intense gaze towards Olivia Bennett. Unable to accept this, Victoria Harper objected. Why didn't you mention something so important beforehand? Announcing the reward now? I object. Olivia Bennett pressed her lips together. She didn't speak, but her eyes mirrored the protest. The director stood his ground fearlessly. It was to prevent certain individuals from breaking the rules, using unfair tactics like pressuring people to buy. He didn't need to specify who certain individuals referred to, did he? Victoria Harper knew better than anyone how Ethan's truckload of watermelons had really been sold. If looks could kill, the director would have died 1,000 times over. Director, you're really something else. Victoria Harper ground her teeth, forcing a smile. No matter how pleasant the smile looked, her eyes held a chilling malice that made one's skin crawl. The director felt needles on his back and instinctively shifted a couple of steps closer to Ethan. Anyway, that's how it is. My rules stand. You all worked hard today. The next round of dates is scheduled for next Thursday, 6 days from now. 2 new contestants will be joining then, so be prepared.